on an ongoing basis, and a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, of $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood, as people actually, see things that if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with which says "Tag You're It," which is our, the slogan for our program. With a $120 gift, you've got your choice of 3 different things. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America, because the Republican obstructionism, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year. Maybe it's only a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job. It pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Or the Just Effing Vote t-shirt, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, which is, 2 of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, well, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity, or whatever it may be. We all need to be doing the same thing. And this t-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
Okay. 1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet, where we all meet on the internet. With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all 3 of them, Supreme Court voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. In all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, travel and the coronavirus. But You can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. Got a new video up for regular supporters of our program over at ThomHartmann.com, and this is about just a totally bizarre story about these three guys with no VA experience, not even veterans, who are all big shots down at Mar-a-Lago, that Donald Trump has put in charge of the Veterans Administration functionally. And their association, one of them is the head of Marvel Entertainment, their association with Johnson & Johnson and the New York Stock Exchange, and Johnson & Johnson, the big drug company, taking this very, very cheap chemical, ketamine, tweaking the molecule a little bit, and rolling it out as a new anti-suicide drug, Spravato, that in clinical trials caused 6 people to die, 3 of them by suicide, and none of the people taking the placebo to die. And now Trump is telling the VA, you have to buy this highly inflated price drug from Johnson & Johnson, and the Democrats want to know what's up with the VA crowd guys. Check it out. It's new phrase. We'll get to that in just a second. Trump just held a, sort of a presser, I suppose. He and Pence had a meeting with a bunch of executives from the health insurance industry who told us, these predatory banksters, who through Mike Pence, said that, don't worry, your insurance will pay for coronavirus testing, and there won't be any surprise billing, and everything's going to be good. I will believe it when I see it. Right? I'll believe it when I see it in legislation, actually. But the market opened up 700-800 points, then it went negative, and then after Trump's comments, it went back positive. People don't know what to think. Professor Richard Wolff will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to be talking about this. Are we on the tip of another great recession, with or without the coronavirus, with or without, all this stuff that's going on? But back to the coronavirus. As I said, social distancing is the hot new phrase. The CDC and health associations around the world are encouraging people to avoid crowds and big social events. One of our kids and her husband had a trip, and this was planned like a year ago, to go to Europe this summer in June or July. And they were both, she's a nurse at a big hospital here in town, and he's an engineer with an international company, and both of them were advised that if they leave the United States, if they travel to Europe, when they get back, they're going to have to self-quarantine for 14 days. New company policies. I mean, this is like I said, social distancing is the hot new phrase. Louise and I have pretty much stopped going to restaurants until we get enough test kits here in Oregon to know that it's safe. Just where'd this story go? Here it is, right here. This from this morning's Oregonian, our local newspaper, right? It's owned by a New York company. What can you say? The Oregon Health Authority will run out of coronavirus test kits by Wednesday without an infusion of kits from the federal government. The state lab had just 130 tests remaining as of Monday night, according to an agency spokesman, and translates to about 65 people, given that it takes about 2 tests per person to diagnose the disease. State officials say they're confident that more enzymes will arrive from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Tuesday and Wednesday. If and when that happens, state officials say they'll have the capacity to test about 4,800 people. The state originally got 1,500 tests, so apparently that's enough to test about 750 people. And we have 14 confirmed cases here and 52 people awaiting results. Now, I got the email. I'm on the Oregon Department of Health email list yesterday, and they said there's several hundred people who are in self-quarantine because they are symptomatic, but they haven't been able to test because they don't have the test kits. So, bottom line, Louise and I are just saying, we're not going to go out until we get enough test kits in this town that we can get some kind of sense about, whether it's how many people in Portland are infected. Is it 3? Well, we know it's like, it's more than that, but, is it hundreds? Is it thousands? Is it just a few dozen? I mean, should we be concerned about? We honest to God don't know the answer to these questions because the Trump administration has been so incompetent at this. They've known since November that this was coming. They've known since January in a big way that this was coming. That's when we started seeing cases popping up in the United States. And what has Trump done? Nothing. And what did he do today? He met with a bunch of, for-profit insurance industry banksters. And they said, oh, yeah, don't worry. Everything will be fine. Right. Tell that to you, when the claims adjuster or whatever. I mean, it's just, I'm not buying this. So, anyway, I'm talking about restaurants. And yesterday I was pointing out this little laser gun that will measure your temperature, and my head is 94.1 degrees right now. So, and I mean, it doesn't measure your internal body temperature; it measures your skin temperature. But that's not a fever, right? That's normal temperature on your skin. And California restaurant is doing this now. I said, yesterday I said, hey, restaurants should start doing this. I would have felt a lot more comfortable when we went to dinner with our daughter and son-in-law a couple nights ago if the maitre d' had measured our temperatures and had assured us that all of the people working in the restaurant had to go through that before they were allowed into the building. And as was also the case of all the people sitting around us, but that didn't happen. Well, it's happening in California. Sichuan Impressions has restaurants in Los Angeles, Tustin, and Alhambra, California, 3 restaurants in the state. And they said if they are using an infrared thermometer, just like the one I was demonstrating on TV yesterday and telling you about on radio, you can measure a temperature from, well, with this one right here, I can measure a temperature from 20 feet away. The ones that are designed to measure, your actual body temperature, like they would use in a doctor's office kind of thing, or you could use at home. And again, these are $20 and $30 devices. You have to be a foot away, more or less. But in any case, they're using this infrared thermometer, and they have been since January. A Chinese restaurant in the United States has got on this thing in January when Trump was still out there playing golf. And they go on to say if a person has a fever, the restaurant will help contact local medical services. And those who don't comply with the temperature check will not be served. In other words, basically, if you've got a fever, they're going to presumably ask you to leave. And if you don't leave, they'll call an ambulance for you or something. Somehow they're going to make it work. So, like I said, it'd be nice to go to a local restaurant. There's some of our favorite restaurants around here, but ain't going to happen until I know what's going on. And I think most of America is feeling the same way. This is not hysteria. Not when, just 200 miles from here, a dozen people are dead. This is reasonable and rational. So my question to you is, how has the coronavirus affected you and your family? Are you changing your habits? Or do you think this is all hysteria? I mean, here, this is Rahim Kassam wrote, he's a reporter, wrote, there were actually 2 people at CPAC who were infected. They shared a room throughout CPAC. This was just texted to me, he tweets, from a high-profile CPAC attendee. Went to the doc today at the VA, referred to the health department if I want to test for COVID-19. Doc told me health department, this is somebody who was at CPAC, right, who they think might have met the infected person. But remember the Republicans, they wanted to tell us, they wanted the whole world to know who the whistleblower was, who blew the whistle that Trump was trying to extort the president of Ukraine? Well, those same Republicans don't want to tell you who the guy was at CPAC who was infected. It's still a secret. We don't know the name of this person. So, again, this guy tweets, went to the doctor today, at the VA, I was referred to the health department. I want to test for the COVID-19. The doc told me the health department won't give me the test without the full name of the person who was diagnosed positive that you came in contact with. Your symptoms are irrelevant. You've got to give the name. And so this person couldn't get tested even though they'd been at CPAC. So in some of the replies, one of them says, so random person on a plane touches the seat buckle, picks up the virus, can't get tested because they don't know the name of the diagnosed person? Yes, that's correct. Carol tweets, I can't get the test. I'm very sick. I'm 63 years old. My 89-year-old mom lives with me. Trump is killing us, and so on. So this is the Twitter thing. A reporter with the New York Times, Robin Schulman, went to Toronto and came back, and when they were going through the airport in the immigration area, their flight was commingled with a couple hundred passengers from a flight from Shanghai, from China. And they're all using the same touch screens to answer the immigration questions, right? Are you carrying $10,000 and all that kind of stuff? And the agents who were asking them questions were wearing masks and gloves, but they weren't. And so, then she gets home and she's got, a couple days later, she's got a fever and a cough. And she's thinking, oh, my God. And she's got an aging mother who is taking care of one of her kids. And she could give it to the kid, and the kid could give it to mom. And so she calls her doc, and he says, go to the hospital and get tested. And she goes to the ER, and they say, no, we're not going to test you. So she goes home, and she has a fever of over 100 degrees the next night. And so she calls the doc again, or the ER, and they say, yeah, come on in. And so she goes into the ER, and they say, no, we can't do it. And then Mike Pence, so then the next night, Mike Pence comes out and says, anybody who wants to get tested can get tested. Any American, this is a verbatim quote from Mike Pence, just like today, the health insurance industry is going to work with us. Don't worry, everything's fine. Well, this is what Pence said last week. Quote, any American can be tested. We're removing that barrier. And of course, Donald Trump said, anybody who wants to get tested can get tested. So she goes back for a third time. And again, the doc says, no, we're not going to test you. So, she's a reporter for the New York Times. So she calls up the spokesperson for the hospital and says, I'm writing an article about my experience at your hospital for the New York Times. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, come on in, we'll give you a test. So I guess that's how you get the test. So anyhow, that's what's going on. On the other hand, and this is where it's getting very, very weird, I got an email from the White House this morning. Trump's style of leadership is A+ in this kind of crisis. And another email that, apparently I'm on some really wacky lists because I signed, I gave Trump $5 6 years ago to get on his mailing list. And this is the deep state power elite globalists are once again resorting to fear tactics.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I'll share with you all the craziness coming out of the right and my theory that maybe Rupert Murdoch is getting nervous right after this break. And welcome back. Wow, what a day. It's just like everything that's going on. It's just nuts. It's incredible. So let's pick up some of your phone calls here. Jared in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Hey, Jared, what's on your mind today?
Hello, Tom. I got just breaking huge news about the exit polls that have happened in the Democratic Party since Super Tuesday. Yes, you need to get on Lee Camp, Greg Palast, Jimmy Dore, or anybody else.
Yeah, I've seen it all. We talked about this yesterday on the air, that in particular the Massachusetts exit polls showed Bernie winning and the real poll results showed Joe Biden winning. It's happened in a couple of other states as well. This is a real problem. I'm with you, Jared, and I want to know what the hell's going on.
What's going on is people are being turned away from the polls. They're closing polling stations. They're giving people provisional ballots.
But here's the thing, Jared. None of that stuff. The provisional ballots will show up on the will skew the exit polls. But the other things that you're describing, and you're right, that's happening, and it's happening in Texas. The closing the polling places and all that kind of stuff is happening in Texas in a big way. And this is
California.
And California, sure. Maybe that's, the road to hell is paved with good intentions in California. I'm not sure, at least in LA County. But the bottom line is that it's not, it ain't right. And in Texas, what they're doing is they're preparing for the November elections. This is what we saw was an early taste of voter suppression, because it's black communities and college communities in particular in Texas where the lines were long just for the primary, which means 7-hour line for the primary is going to translate into 10, 12-hour line for the general election. The situation in Massachusetts, that could have to do with provisional ballots. That's pretty much the only thing that'll skew an exit poll. If somebody's turned away at the polling place, they're not going to tell an exit pollster who they voted for because they didn't vote. So it's only the provisional ballots that will skew an exit poll. And we need to find out what's going on with this. I've seen this reported in several places. I saw, and the reporting actually on the exit polls was taken right off CNN's initial reports. But we don't know yet what's going on, and there's a whole bunch of people like yourself, Jared, who are seriously pissed off activists out there who are thinking that there's something bad going on inside the Democratic Party or inside our polling apparatus or inside our voting machines, and it could be all of the above, and God only knows, and we need to find out. We absolutely need to find out, and the Democratic Party needs to make this a top priority, and Tom Perez should be all over this, and to the best of my knowledge, he's not. I'm not hearing any conversation out of the DNC about this, and it's something that needs to be addressed.
And what about these debates? They've changed the debate rules twice since Iowa.
So what are the
time to let?
Oh yeah, they changed the debate rules to let Bloomberg in. I would say that was a good thing, because it allowed us to figure out very quickly that Bloomberg was not somebody who should be voted for. Elizabeth Warren took him down and took him out. So I didn't think that the rules should have been changed to allow him in, but because they were, it wasn't a bad outcome. Now, apparently, the Biden camp wants to change the debate rules so that they're sitting down and they're not debating each other, and it's more like they're taking calls or questions from the audience and this kind of stuff. I'd like to see an actual debate. I'm with you, but we'll see how they ultimately do it. I wish this was back with the League of Women Voters. I really do. It hasn't been since 1988. And it should be again. We'll be right back. Our 1-hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3-hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. So over at Fox News, you've got some really interesting mixed messaging going on. Trish Regan on Monday night on Fox News. This is from The Guardian, a piece that Martin Pengelly wrote. She says, a chorus of hate is being leveled at the president, and it is nearing a crescendo as Democrats blame him and only him for a virus that originated halfway around the world. This is yet another attempt to impeach the president, and sadly, it seems they care very little for any of the destruction they're leaving in their wake. Losses in the stock market, all of this, unfortunately, just part of the political casualties for them, the Democrats, of course. This is a time to be united, not to be pointing fingers, she says ironically, not to be encouraging hate. And yet, what do we see? We see the absolute opposite from the left tonight. The hate is boiling over. Many in the liberal media using coronavirus in an attempt to demonize and destroy our president. This is impeachment all over again. And like with the Mueller investigation, like with Ukraine-gate, they don't care who they hurt. So that was Trish Regan. Then comes Tucker Carlson. Now, Tucker Carlson's in primetime. He and Hannity and Ingram, they're their big three shows. They're the ones who are probably having conversations with Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch is what, 89 or something? I think he's a little over 80. And that is if you get coronavirus, it can be a real problem, age. And he's in New York City, and there's cases popping up in New York City, and they don't have enough test kits. And so maybe Rupert Murdoch is getting a little nervous. It is a family business after all. And so maybe he had a little conversation with Tucker Carlson, because this is what Tucker Carlson said Monday night. And he's, I think, indirectly speaking of Trump and Pence. He says, people you trust, people you probably voted for, just spent weeks minimizing what is clearly a very serious problem. It's just partisan politics, they say. Calm down. In the end, this will be just like the flu, and people die from that every year. The coronavirus will pass. They may not know any better, Carlson says. Maybe they're just not paying attention, or maybe they believe they're serving some higher cause by shading reality. And there's an election coming up. Best not to say anything that might help the other side. We get it. But they're wrong. It's definitely not just the flu. Assuring people that everything will be fine is not the right thing to do, he said. It's better to tell the truth. That is always the surest sign of strength. Well, isn't that interesting? Meanwhile, the email I got this morning from the White House, the headline, Trump's style of leadership is a plus in this kind of crisis. This is from the info at mail.whitehouse.gov account, and it goes out to the press and to presumably anybody who's signed up. Former Senator Jim Talent writes for Fox News, indecision is both seductive and dangerous, as Japan and South Korea are finding out. President Trump, on the other hand, reacted quickly and effectively to the coronavirus. This is a quote from the senator, Trump's style of leadership is on balance a plus in this kind of a crisis. He is neither afraid to make decisions nor overly concerned about being criticized for the decisions he makes. That is vital. Right. And then, from one of these, ever since I signed up to be to be a Trump donor, this was back in 2015 when Trump was in the primary, I sent, I do this, I've done this with probably a dozen candidates. Back in 2015, a couple of Republicans, a couple of Democrats. I did it this time around too, where you just send them $5 and it puts you on their mailing list forever, right? And but weirdly, I sign up for the left wing, send contributions to the progressive candidates or to candidates on the Democratic side, and I start getting fundraising requests from obscure Democratic candidates in Wyoming and stuff. But on the signing up on the president's list, suddenly I'm getting really wacky emails. Global economic panic goes viral on purpose. Big media fear porn went ballistic today. There's a method to their madness, folks. The deep state power elite globalists are once again resorting to tactics of the endless terror war, as has eroded the fabric of planetary civility. So be cool, calm, and collected. Coronavirus is a convenient scapegoat for a long-planned global economic reset with a covert agenda of population control that subverts core sovereign freedoms. Yes, that's what's going on. Meanwhile, Trump is floating a cut to the Social Security tax. Well, what's that going to do? And didn't Obama do this? Well, Trump wants to do it differently. He wants to do it in a way that's going to kneecap Social Security. I'll tell you about that. Well, actually, we're going to talk to Richard Wolff after the break, and then we'll pick up your phone calls.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
So stick around. We got Richard Wolff for a few minutes, and then after that, I'll be picking up your phone calls, and it's going to be a fascinating day, I guarantee you. Well, it's Tuesday. We have 4 more days.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Finish our fund drive. I got a note from one of the folks at Free Speech TV yesterday that we are way, way behind. This show is way behind. Well, actually, I think right across the board, people are way behind. But speaking of this program, we've been raising around $1,000 a day. I think yesterday was around $1,200 or $1,400. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fund drive, we have to hit $12,000 a day for the next 4 days, which includes today. It's going to be a real challenge. I know I've been, encouraging people to make small gifts, $3, $5 on an ongoing basis. And a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, about $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8888. 8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood. As people actually, see things that if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with which says "Tag You're It," which is our, the slogan for our program. With a $120 gift, you've got your choice of 3 different things. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America, because the Republican obstructionism, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year. Maybe it's only a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job. It pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Or the Just Effing Vote t-shirt, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, which is, 2 of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, well, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity, or whatever it may be. We all need to be doing the same thing. And this t-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
Okay. 1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet, where we all meet on the internet. With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all 3 of them, Supreme Court voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. In all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, travel and the coronavirus. But you can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip, that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. pesticides and pollution. And I'll explain why that's not a good thing. Nilay Marian, Forestry and Biodiversity Framework Coordinator with Friends of the Earth International, is here. Can we stop mass extinctions? Eva Hamer, Legal Coordinator of Direct Action Everywhere, drops by on her article, Why I Went Topless at Costco. Plus, geeky science. This is what happens when public transit is free. But wait, there's more. Tune in to the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are found. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And on the line with us is Professor Richard Wolff, the economist, co-founder of Democracy at Work, the author of numerous books. His latest, Understanding Socialism, democracyatwork.info, and rdwolff with 2fs.com are his websites. And you can tweet him at Prof. Wolff with 2Fs. Professor Wolff, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
So since the last time we talked, I think the market's lost like 6,000 points or something. It's been really substantial. We have talked about on numerous occasions the enormous debt overhang that our economy has. Now there was this oil price shock as Russia and Saudi Arabia are in a price war with each other, essentially, which could be putting the oil industry in the United States in deep trouble. What broadly, and then of course you got the coronavirus, and planes and restaurants are emptying out. What broadly do you see happening, and how deep do you think this could go?
Okay, you and I are in a specific place that's a little bit unusual in the sense that our conversations over quite a few months now have stressed, and I hope I didn't overstress it, that the exclamations by Trump and others that our economy is the greatest it's ever been, the greatest in the world, are, to be polite, exaggerations. To be honest, they are self-serving political hype. To be more honest, they're lies. And it's not just that we're more indebted than ever before. It's that give you a recent statistic from a study at the University of Pennsylvania that people born in the 1960s, 60% of them live better than their parents, whereas people born in the 1980s, 40% of them live better than their parents, which means that 60% of the people born in the 1980s cannot achieve the standard of living of their parents. You're seeing a ratcheting down of the American economy for which this country was not prepared ideologically, personally, psychologically, or any other way. That means an economy that is very frail, an economy sitting on a debt bubble with miserable people who have no savings, who haven't put enough away for their old age, who therefore risk becoming burdens on their children. I could go on. It doesn't take much for an economy that pure, badly organized, that fragile to be knocked for a loop. The coronavirus can do it. The oil price shock can do it. Half a dozen other things that we could imagine could do it. We happen to have the last two, the virus and the oil. Either one of them alone could have done it. The two together is a real 1-2 punch. But the underlying rule, the underlying thing that people have to understand is that these events are exposing the underlying fragility of an economy that spent the 20th century celebrating that it could create a middle class, and now entering the 21st century, literally tearing that class to shreds. It's amazing we haven't had more trouble in our streets, but that's what I see coming.
Do you think that we're on the edge of another Great Recession or even Great Depression?
Well, in the past, I've hesitated to say so because, I don't have a crystal ball. I know that this economy, having crashed so many times in the past, is due for another one, but only a fool would predict exactly where and exactly when, and nobody knows that.
Right.
But the short answer to your question, which I notice is all over the financial press today, is that, yes, we would now have to estimate a better than 50-50 chance that we're going to have a recession when you throw together the virus, the oil shock, the literal collapse of airline traffic. The university where I teach just canceled the classes basically for the rest of the semester. This is happening everywhere. This is not an economy that has any slack in it, has any room to accommodate these kinds of shocks. So, yes, I think we're in for a recession, and that the stock market will go down further, and that the ramifications of that, like the ramifications of the virus and the ramifications of the oil, we're just at the earliest stage. Think of it like dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples begin, but it's going to take some time, and by the time it gets to the other shore, the ripple will become a wave.
Now, neither of us are old enough to have lived through the last Republican Great Depression, but certainly as an economist and somebody who studied the history of these things, you're well informed on this. What outside of stock market advice, which I'm not looking for, how should people, be they young people, middle-aged people, or people approaching retirement or even in retirement, how should they prepare for this?
I wish I had an answer for you. I take no pleasure in being able to say I told you so, so I won't say I told you so, other than obviously what I've just done. I don't know what the preparation is. If you have shares of stock, you should be very, very careful about what you do. You should understand that by far the safest course is to limit further damage. That's the major thing to avoid, even at the price of missing an upwave if one happens. That's possible too if the Trump administration were to get out of its fantasy world and actually try to do something. That would give a jolt upward to the market. But my guess is limit your exposure. Do not borrow money. Hold on as best you can to what you have. Limit your risks, because right now this looks like a really bad storm, and you better be very, very careful not to stick your head up where it could get blown away by the force of the economic winds. Yeah. But if I could take a second longer, what we really need is for people to get the courage in this moment, to be able to say with a clear, strong voice, we can do better than this. We should have had the tests, the test kits, the masks, all of the paraphernalia in a well-developed national network of clinics that could handle this situation. We should not have 100 million people whose insurance policies have a deductible, and this being the early part of the year, people know that they have to pay the price, even if they're insured. And I'm not even talking about the 30 million Americans who are not insured. Those are people who don't go to the doctor because they can't afford it. What about the hundreds of people, the hundreds of thousands, the millions who don't get paid sick leave? Other countries, South Korea has been remarkable in how it has handled this. It immediately covered everybody with insurance. It immediately said, go to the doctor, we'll pick up the tab. They went out of their way to say that immigrants who are not legally in South Korea will be guaranteed no prosecution or persecution if they go to a clinic where they will be given a free test. We haven't begun as a nation to do what other nations have done, and that's because we have a health system which is governed by what's profitable for a company. It isn't profitable for a company to produce test kits and masks and all the other things and stick them in a warehouse for some eventuality 2 or 4 or 6 years around. But for a society, it is life itself that is worth it. And that's this system that prioritizes profit over the lives of the people in it is a system that has lost its right to expect our loyalty. And if people learn that lesson, then we have a chance not to be destroyed by this one or by the next crisis that comes down the road.
Yeah, the last two serious crises that this country has lived through in the last 100 years, the Great Depression of the late 1920s, early 1930s, and the multiple assassinations of John Kennedy and Martin Luther King in the 1960s, both led to major progressive reforms. The New Deal in the 30s and the Great Society in the 60s. In the New Deal, the creation of Social Security and unemployment insurance and all these other things. In the 60s, the creation of Medicare and Medicaid, and of course the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and things like that. I'm hopeful that this crisis will have a similar effect. Are you?
I'm hopeful. I wish I could be more. What's the word
optimistic?
I want? Sure of it.
Yeah.
But I certainly hope that. That's why I made the comment I just did. See the importance of this. See the history. See the failure of an economic system that ought to prepare people and protect people and keep us safe, instead being distracted into the mindless profiteering and producing these absurdly concentrated wealth in a handful of individuals. The obscenity of it, is tolerable until the crisis hits. So my hope is that we'll be shocked into recognition that because 4 people in a room somewhere in the world who are Russian and who are Saudi Arabian can sit down and make a decision that immediately plunges the whole center of the United States into a crisis of collapsing oil prices. And let me just underscore so that people see the way our economy works. The fracking industry, which is where that oil is coming from now, never spent the money to build the expensive infrastructure to get that oil out of the ground. They borrowed that money. They went to the banks of the United States and said, this is a no-lose situation. We're going to produce oil. We're going to be able to charge all this money, so you should lend us. They did. And when the fracking industry dissolves, which it will if these low oil prices continue, it's not just them that will go down. They're going to take the banks down with them. Those banks are going to turn to the government for a bailout, and we're going to have quite a political fight in this country if the mass of the people have to shell out their own dwindling economic resources to bail out for the second time in a decade the industries that brought us to our knees because of their profit-driven behavior. This has to be a lesson learned, because I literally fear, if you add the ecological craziness, that we are on a death trip otherwise, holding on to a system that doesn't save us.
Amen. Professor Richard Wolff, thank you so much for dropping by today and for everything that you're doing and for sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks so much for dropping by.
Glad to do it, Tom, and thank you.
Great talking with you. DemocracyAtWork.info and rdwolf with 2Fs.com are his websites, and you can tweet him at Prof. Wolff with 2 Fs. Professor Richard Wolff. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Your calls right after this. Stick around. And welcome back. Morris in Long Beach, California. Hey, Morris, thanks for listening to KPFK. What's on your mind? Morris? Morris is usually pretty good about knowing how to listen to the phone here. Robert in Greenville, North Carolina. Hey, Robert, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. I've come to the conclusion that the Democratic Party would rather see Donald Trump win than Bernie Sanders.
I think that may be true of some people in the Democratic Party, but I don't think that's because you think that Joe Biden can't beat Trump. Is that the bottom line? Is that what you're saying there, Robert?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Joe
think
Biden
those
can't even give a 10-minute speech without losing his
I know. Last night he gave a talk, and somebody asked him about guns, and he said that AR-15s are against the law. It's like, really?
Hey, he said yesterday. He said I'm running for re-election.
Yeah,
I'm running for re-election. He goes, oh no, that's wrong. Trump's running for re-election.
Yeah, I know.
This
I know.
was what it's crazy.
I am very concerned about it, and I think a lot of Americans are very concerned about it. Trump has made ads suggesting that Joe Biden is senile. Those ads are running right now as we speak on Facebook. This is an issue that, and apparently Biden's wife has been tweeting about how smart and sharp he is, trying to kind of push back on that stuff. But this appears right now that the main thrust of the Trump attacks is not going to be Biden corruption in Ukraine. It's going to be Biden is losing it, and Trump has been saying that at his rallies and things. And but I got to say, Robert, even if Biden is losing it, I think there are a lot of Democrats who, if he is the nominee, and I hope it's Bernie. There's a big election happening today, and probably by the end of the night tonight, we will have a really much better idea who's going to be our nominee. But if it turns out that it's Joe Biden, even if he's losing it, I have confidence that he will appoint people who will at least run the government well. I mean, right now we've got grifters, lobbyists, hustlers, and incompetents in the positions of power in our federal government, and many really important positions. Like the head of dealing with pandemic diseases for the Department of Homeland Security, and the head of dealing with the pandemic diseases for the National Security Council. Literally, those offices are empty. There's literally no one in those offices. A quarter of all the civilian workers in the senior management of the Pentagon gone. They're just not there. Trump has not been replacing these people. The EPA is understaffed. The Interior Department, the Social Security Administration. I mean, you name it. The IRS has reached the point where their budget has been cut so much and their staffing has been cut so much that they're no longer auditing rich people's taxes because it takes too long and it's too expensive. They're starting to now just audit average working people. It's like they're twiddling their thumbs. Well, maybe that's who Trump wants them to go after. I share your concerns, Robert, and I've said them many times on this program. On the other hand, I've said, I would vote for Bill the Cat's hairball over Donald Trump, and we'll see. It's 51 minutes past the hour. Stick around. We'll be right back with your calls here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Hey, did you know that Hillary Clinton actually won Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Florida in the 2016 election? It's on page 92 of my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Keno in Lakeland, Florida. Hey, Keno, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, Tom, I'm the moose herder Republicans who oppose Trump and won't reform in the Republican Party. I want to bring to your attention yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, Monday, the 9th of March, the lead article is The Senate and the Judiciary, and they say the subtitle is The Democratic Majority Threatens Judicial Independence. In other words, they demonize the Democrats to say that any judges that they're going to put in are terrible and of the devil.
Right.
And it's demonization. And so you have written a book about the court system. I'm going to write a response and saying they've done a blanket condemnation of Democrats in this article, and that's wrong, and that, it's going to boil down to the judges that are going to be put in our judicial system. Are they for the nobility or for the serfs? Mercy for the serfs or the merciless?
Well, we know that, every single one of the judges that Mitch McConnell has pushed through, and now, some really substantial chunk of the federal judiciary, I think it's a quarter now of all circuit and district judges, federal judges, lifetime appointments are Federalist Society appointees put in place by Donald Trump. And the Federalist Society is only vetting judges who will work for the oligarchy, not for the average person, period, full stop.
Yeah, well, we need a constitutional amendment that says that whoever wins the majority for the president will appoint all judicial nominations in our court system.
I think what we need, Keno, is the Democrats to take the House, the Senate, and the White House. And I realize you're a Republican, respectfully, but your party has lost its way, Keno.
Yes, it has, and because it demonized the opposition. Instead of believing in a loyal opposition, it should honor the opposition, and that's where it's gone astray.
Yeah, I'm with you. Keno, thanks for the call. Sam in Denver. Hey, Sam, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. I just wanted to point out something that one of your previous callers said today. It's that the reason why Trump is so understaffed is because nobody wants to work with him. Because every indication that we've had of his conduct in the White House is that it's essentially a berserker rage devoid of any political forethought or any thought of any kind, really.
Hey, I'm guessing, particularly in some of the senior positions, that may be the case. But on these second and third and fourth tier positions, the management positions and supervisory positions in the EPA, for example, or the Interior Department or the Social Security Administration, those are purposely not being filled by this administration, and they're not being filled because Steve Bannon told us. He said this in an interview with one of the big networks, just right around the time Trump was elected. He said, our goal is to deconstruct the administrative state. Now, let me translate that into English. We are going to take apart the American government. And that's what they're doing. They are taking apart the American government.
Because these Republicans, or the Libertarian Party in 1980 is a pretty good analog for what a lot of them believe.
Yeah.
Outside of abortion, they believe that there's no role of government at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or just the police and the Army. Yeah, I'm with you, Sam. Eric in Citra, Florida. Hey, Eric, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Tom.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. We have a minute to the end of the hour here, Eric. You got a quick one?
Okay. Yes, I do. Do you know what interferon is?
I do. Yes, I do know what it is.
Okay, it blocks viruses and bacteria.
Right.
You can stimulate the body to produce interferon. Okay?
Right.
And the point for doing that is on the bottom of the big toe. Comes out of a reflexology chart.
Eric, I'm sorry. I'm just,
I've used it for 30 years, and I've never had a cold or virus.
Well, that's wonderful, Eric. But we are dealing with a disease here that kills people. And, yeah, sure, squeeze your big toe all day long. Wonderful thing. But seriously, wash your hands. Don't go out in crowds. Talk to your physician. There's actually a couple of antiviral drugs that are in trials right now. Gilead has one. I think it's called Remdesivir or something like that. That actually seems to be working against the coronavirus. The main reason why we need to prevent the outbreaks now is so that we have time to figure out what actually does work against this disease and develop a vaccine.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Got a new video up for regular supporters of our program over at ThomHartmann.com, and this is about just a totally bizarre story about these three guys with no VA experience, not even veterans, who are all big shots down at Mar-a-Lago, that Donald Trump has put in charge of the Veterans Administration functionally. And their association, one of them is the head of Marvel Entertainment, their association with Johnson & Johnson and the New York Stock Exchange, and Johnson & Johnson, the big drug company, taking this very, very cheap chemical, ketamine, tweaking the molecule a little bit, and rolling it out as a new anti-suicide drug, Spravato, that in clinical trials caused 6 people to die, 3 of them by suicide, and none of the people taking the placebo to die. And now Trump is telling the VA, you have to buy this highly inflated price drug from Johnson & Johnson. And the Democrats want to know what's up with the VA crowd guys. Check it out. Well, it's Tuesday. We have 4 more days to continue or finish our fund drive. I got a note from one of the folks at Free Speech TV yesterday that we are way, way behind. This show is way behind. Well, actually, I think right across the board, people are way behind. But speaking of this program, we've been raising around $1,000 a day. I think yesterday was around $1,200 or $1,400. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fund drive, we have to hit $12,000 a day for the next 4 days, which includes today. It's going to be a real challenge. I know I've been, encouraging people to make small gifts, $3, $5 on an ongoing basis. And a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, about $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood. As people actually, see things that are, if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with which says "Tag You're It," which is our, the slogan for our program. With a $120 gift, you've got your choice of 3 different things. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America because the Republican obstructionism. I mean, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year. Maybe it's only a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job. It pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Or the Just Effing Vote t-shirt or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, which is, two of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity or whatever it may be. Well, we all need to be doing the same thing. And this t-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
Okay. 1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet where we all meet on the internet. With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all three of them, Supreme Court voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. In all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, travel and the coronavirus. But you can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip, that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. Say that the U.S. is a republic and not a democracy is like claiming to eat beef and pork, but not cows and pigs. The bigger problem with the saying is the implication that lies beneath it. The book, Let the People Pick the President by Jesse Wegman.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I asked in the first hour, and then we, just the news kind of got away with us, and we had Richard Wolff on, and so really didn't have, the time or opportunity to follow through. But, how is the coronavirus affecting you? Are you changing the patterns in your life and your behavior, things like that? A German hospital, this is a small German town of Groß-Gerau. You don't have to go through you don't go to the drive-through for burgers and fries. You do it to get tested for the coronavirus. I told you yesterday, this hospital in I believe it was in California, set up a drive-through spot for people who work in the hospital who want to be tested. That way, you're not coming into close contact with somebody. You're not walking into a waiting room and sitting in a chair that might be contaminated. This is great stuff. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is, he had his little press conference this morning where he had a bunch of insurance industry executives and they all said, oh, yes, we will voluntarily do nice things for people who need to get tested for coronavirus. If you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you or a Fox News segment to sell you. I'd like to see legislation. I'd like to see an executive order. I'd like to see something that has the force of law. Now, apparently this afternoon, Trump is going to be meeting Mnuchin and Trump and, Mnuchin, the guy who should have been put in prison in California for throwing 10,000 people out of their homes with illegal robo-signings. He's now our Treasury Secretary. I mean, this is an administration full of grifters. And they're going to be meeting with the Republicans, with Mitch McConnell and some of the senior Republicans today, to come up with Republican ways to stimulate the economy. Gee, what will that involve? Oh, so you think tax cuts? What a surprise. In fact, Trump, this from the Center for Economic and Policy Research, President Trump is proposing a temporary cut in the Social Security payroll tax as part of an economic stimulus package to offset the impact of the coronavirus. Now, let me be very clear about this. If you want to stimulate the economy, in other words, if you want to cause people to buy more things or have less debt, but really buy more things is what does the stimulus, then giving more money in the paychecks of people in the bottom 70% of America, roughly, who are it's probably more like the bottom 60%, but whatever it may be, the bottom half of America, where if you cut the Social Security payroll tax, they see an immediate extra $10, $20, $30, a month in their paychecks. And that money, in a typical economy, that money means that they will then have money to, go out to a restaurant or to buy the newest gadget or to, accumulate several months worth of that and, buy a new computer or TV or something like that. And it stimulates the economy. And in fact, Barack Obama did this in 2009 to get us out of the Great Recession, the George Bush Republican Great Recession. And it worked. It helped. But Obama did it with a piece of legislation that said, because the way the Social Security system is set up right now, 100% of the payments that Social Security makes have to come from, 100% of that money has to come from the Social Security taxes, from your FICA taxes, from the taxes that you pay out of your paycheck. It all has to come from there. Now, if you suspend the Social Security tax collections, you're going to be taking billions of dollars, tens of billions, or depending on the period of time, hundreds of billions of dollars out of the Social Security Trust Fund. So what Obama did was he had legislation passed that said whatever it costs Social Security to have this pause in the Social Security tax so that the average working person and low-income people in particular will have more money in their paycheck to stimulate the economy. Whatever it costs, we're going to take that out of the general fund, out of general tax revenue, and hand it to the Social Security Administration. So if it costs us $273 billion, we're going to take $273 billion in regular tax money and drop it into the Social Security Trust Fund so it will not hurt Social Security. You think Trump is going to do that? Hell no. The Republicans are going to go, oh, yeah, we're going to do the same thing Obama did. It helped stimulate the economy. We're going to cut Social Security taxes. And then they're not going to compensate Social Security for it so that next year or the year after that, they can go, whoa, that Social Security Trust Fund sure is shrinking fast. Maybe we should turn this over to the banks and privatize it. Number one. And number two, keep in mind when Obama did this, and lower income working people had an extra 30, 40, 50 bucks in their paycheck every week or every month, every couple of weeks. They took that money and they went to the local restaurant or went down to the local store and bought something. But right now, those people are not going to the local restaurant or the local store because they're afraid of getting the coronavirus because Trump has not got test kits out all over the country, even though he's lying through his teeth and telling us anyone who wants to get tested can get tested. Not the case. And so it's not going to stimulate the economy. It won't work. I mean, it will hurt Social Security, and it'll reduce the debt of many low-income people, but it ain't going to help Social Security. Just a couple of other news stories here that I wanted to share with you. This I found fascinating. The average time from the time that you're exposed to coronavirus to the time that you develop symptoms has now been calculated. There's been enough cases and enough history gathered, a lot of it out of China, but enough of this, good public health math has been done. The average time is 5 days. Now, that means that half of the people get sick before 5 days and it's actually the median time is 5.1 days. Half of the people get sick before 5 days, half of the people get sick after 5 days. But only about 2% of people get sick after 14 days. So the 14-day quarantine is still the recommended thing. But keep in mind, 2% of people will still get sick after 14 days, number one. And number two, not quite on average, but the median length is 5 days. This was published in the journal Annals of Internal Medicine. And it was just published this morning. So we'll see how all this shakes out. I've got a few other news stories here that I want to get to, but I will do that in the next hour because I would like to get to your phone calls. And I know a lot of you have been sitting on hold for a long time. Jonathan in Boston. Hey, Jonathan, what's up?
Yes, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
So someone mentioned before they changed the format of the upcoming debate, which is going to be pre-authorized softball questions, I'm sure.
Well, we don't know.
Is this not what we're saying?
We don't know that. I mean, if it is, there's going to be I suspect there's going to be a lot of people who are pretty upset.
Well, yeah.
But we'll find out. I mean, it's this weekend.
They obviously, do you think that the format has changed? The culprit for the format being changed has to do with corporate lobbyists in the DNC. I mean, I just want to call it out for what it is, because if you look up who the members of the DNC are, they're all corporate lobbyists, are they not?
No. In fact, there's nobody who only was a corporate lobbyist who is a superdelegate or inside the DNC. What happens is, let me finish my sentence, Jonathan.
Okay, go ahead.
What happens is when people retire from Congress, they are still they become superdelegates, right? You're retired members of Congress, your former president, your former vice president, your former governors, and your former senators and members of the House. Those are your superdelegates. And most of those people, when they retire, take jobs as lobbyists. So, yeah, they're lobbyists, but they've been inside the Democratic Party for years and years and years. And so, it's a little disingenuous to say, oh, you got lobbyists running the DNC. On the other hand, it's factually accurate. But the point is, the whole softball question thing, I think that, the Biden campaign is going to be working really hard to try to prevent him from being embarrassed. I'll give you that. And he did it again last night. A couple of times, apparently. And it's one of the headlines over on Drudge now. The guy's a gaffe machine, or whatever, however you want to characterize it. And we're going to see this. I don't think you can hide this in an hour-long or 2-hour-long debate, even if the format becomes softball questions, and even if they don't actually talk to each other, which is apparently what the Biden campaign is asking for. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's trust the American people to be thoughtful and rational. And I think the unfortunate thing is that this debate is not happening before today's election. But anyhow, we'll be back with your calls right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be right back. Stick around. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And let's see, we've already talked about Biden and Bernie. Here, Morris, you want to talk about something else. Hey, Morris, what's on your mind? What's up?
I'll tell you what I'm doing, Professor, with respect to the coronavirus. I got a little money stashed, and we're preparing ourselves for it. Even though we got health care protections, we really don't have no health care protections. So we are preparing ourselves for the worst. I think what we all need to do right now, this country and the world, I think we need to repent. That's what's going on right now. Bernie Sanders is the only guy talking about health care protections.
Yep.
Ain't nobody else talking like him. Okay, yep. That's more important than a 401k. Trump is out. You can believe he's gone. He was banking on the economy. Ain't no economy no more. And I want to give a shout out to Bill and Linda Gates for kicking down some money to get some test kits down in Seattle. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Drew in Barrington, Illinois. Hey, Drew, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. I was wondering whether you think that Bernie should lean more into the coronavirus issue to advocate for Medicare for all.
I think he should, and I guarantee you he will. He's been talking about that on the stump, and it's going on. So I think that's a good thing. Tom in Jerusalem, Israel. Hey, Tom, thanks for watching this on YouTube. What's up?
Yeah, hey, I was just wondering, I don't mean to be Paul Begala of the left, but I'm just wondering if maybe there's too much being looked at both Biden and Trump, and we need to look at the possible number twos. I mean, Nikki Haley has been out there stumping for Loeffler in Georgia. She was big in the Atlanta conference. She basically set everything up for Trump at CPAC. And, Tammy has just been slamming Trump on so many issues for 3 years. She just slammed him on the coronavirus.
You're talking Tammy Baldwin of Illinois?
Duckworth.
Or Duckworth. Illinois. Yeah, Tammy Duckworth. I'm sorry. Yes.
Tammy Duckworth.
Yeah.
Two strong, female individuals. I mean, obviously Nikki Haley makes me want to hurl. But, I mean, I think we need to start looking at other people other than the head, candidates, because obviously there's two old men, and maybe they're trying to show somebody who can fill the shoes of these people. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out to you. If you could comment on that, I'd really like it.
Yeah, I think that there's a real high likelihood that we're going to see Nikki Haley showing up on the Republican ticket coming up. That's I've said that before. With regard to Tammy, I don't know. Aaron in Tacoma. Hey, Aaron, what's on your mind?
Yeah, how's it going, Tom? Always good to talk to you. Just want to let you know I dropped off my ballots this morning. Vote by mail state, which every state should do. I think you get a better count, accuracy, etc. And just wanted to kind of talk about, we're down to 2 people in the race, and want to talk about enthusiasm in the vote. So I drive around all the time. I'm in the healthcare field, and I do patient home calls, which is a little weird right now due to the coronavirus.
Right.
But I just wanted to say I have not seen one single Joe Biden sign, bumper sticker, or any kind of political advertisement in all of Western Washington.
Yeah, and this is
Not
the problem.
one.
This is the problem that we had 4 years ago. Trump signs were all over the place.
Yes.
Clinton signs were not.
Yeah, and so, but even last election, there were Bernie signs everywhere. This time, there's Bernie signs everywhere. There was Pete Buttigieg signs. There was Elizabeth Warren signs. Not one Biden sign.
Wow. Okay,
No enthusiasm.
Aaron, thanks for the info. We'll be right back. It's 20 minutes past the hour. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus? Are you changing your life? Are you changing your circumstances? Are you changing your mind? Are you changing the way you behave as a result of this? And what do you think? How do you think this is going to play out? I'm very concerned. Our 1-hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3-hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Dan in Ontario, California. Hey, Dan, what's on your mind today?
It's Ontario, Canada.
Oh, Canada. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's not a problem. I just wanted to actually give my perspective on the coronavirus.
Thank you.
Because being in Canada, it's actually been so cold. In order to go outside, you pretty much have to be, completely wrapped up in almost a hazmat suit, and people don't congregate, and there really isn't the same social interaction here.
But people still go to restaurants and gyms and things like that, don't they?
They do. But what I have noticed is that the level of concern here is very low compared to, it seems, everywhere else.
Well, you have a national health care system. I mean, if somebody's concerned that they have the coronavirus, they can go to a doctor and get, I'm assuming that Canada, it took the World Health Organization test kits, and anybody who wants to can get tested. I mean, Trump turned those things down.
Yeah, and they've been very proactive. We dealt with SARS in the same way.
Right.
And, it's just, it's quite a difference to see between the United States and Canada, even though we're close to the border. It's a huge difference in the outlook, the panic, the way it's dealt with. It's interesting.
Do you know how many cases Canada's had? I suppose I can look it up.
I just know in my area, because I'm in near Toronto. There's been about 30 in Toronto and maybe 2 or 3 surrounding there, and they've been contained, and it really hasn't spread.
Yeah, I'm looking at Canada here, and what I'm seeing is in Ontario, you've got 36 confirmed cases, 4 recovered, 32 active, no deaths. In Alberta, you got 7 confirmed cases, all active, and it looks like British Columbia is the largest number you have, 32 confirmed cases, 1 death, 27 active. So Canada seems to have this under control. And then you also have 1 in Quebec. You've got 4 people who are active with coronavirus. Fascinating stuff. Dan, thank you for the report from Canada.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it. Karen in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hey, Karen, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. I'm wondering if anyone else or if you saw a recent interview. I caught this just before your program on ABC channel with Biden being interviewed and stating that he would not necessarily sign a Medicare for all bill.
Yeah, I saw the clip. He said, "Where are you going to get the $35 trillion to pay for it?" And it's like,
yep.
I'm sorry, we're spending $45 trillion right now every decade. It's like that. I saw that and I just, my jaw dropped.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. But anyway, Karen, this, we're just
so upset.
Yeah, I am too, and I don't know what to say beyond that other than to acknowledge it. It's just, I don't think that let me rephrase that. I believe that essentially the cat is out of the bag, as it were, that Bernie has already revolutionized America, whether he's the nominee or not. I hope he is. But I don't think that if Joe Biden becomes the nominee and becomes president, that he'll be able to stop the momentum in this direction, frankly. And frankly, I think that, he won't want to once he figures out which direction the majority of Americans really want to go. Karen, thank you for the call. Patrick in Long Island, New York. Hey, Patrick. I just saw, by the way, the governor of your state, Governor Cuomo, has just sent National Guard troops to New Rochelle. This is I remember it from the old Dick Van Dyke show, right? And to enforce a quarantine. I mean, they're getting serious there.
Yeah, Cuomo has been very proactive from the get-go when he realized that Trump was dragging his feet. So I give him high grades. He's been very, as I said, proactive. Yeah. I have to admit, I joined the frenzied mess last night, and I went on the Internet to look for paper goods. Paper towels, toilet paper, tissue, what have you. Right. Most were sold out. Some were extremely high priced, but I did manage to take care of me and my own. So I have joined in the panic masses, and I'm ashamed of myself, but you do what you got to do.
I don't think it's panic, Pat. I mean, if you bought a year's worth, I'd say that's panic. But if you bought 2 or 3 weeks worth, that's actually what the CDC is now recommending. That you be prepared, if you're exposed to the coronavirus, that you be prepared to live in your home for 2 to 3 weeks without going out at all. Which means, and I've been saying this for almost a month now. Get some canned beans, right? Get 5 pounds of dried rice. Beans and rice is great stuff, and you can put all kinds of spices and things in it and make it in dozens of different ways. And but not obviously just beans and rice. Get the kinds of food that you like that are not perishable. Then get 2 or 3 weeks worth of food. You'll eventually eat it anyway.
I have an 86 mother, and my sister and I have unofficially quarantined her, and so. Okay, Tom, that's it.
That's okay, Patrick. Thank you for the call. I mean, this is what we need to do, and I'm glad to hear that that's what you're doing. And let's see here, Michael in Princeton, Minnesota. Michael, we have a little less than a minute. You got a quick one?
I just wanted to make a little bit of a comparison between what Trump is doing. Back when we had the last pandemic, the state of Minnesota spent the money to put $550,000 worth of MREs, clothing, the masks, the gowns, the cleaning supplies into the basement of the location where I was working at that time.
Wow. Was that during the swine flu thing or the SARS thing?
Well, it was back in early 2000, mid-2000s.
Yeah, amazing. But Trump's doing nothing like that now, right?
And in all of the state organizations, the prisons and everything were supposed to come there and get that because transportation was shut down and the whole works.
Right.
And when we didn't have it, a lot of that stuff wound up going to the garbage.
Oh, my. But we do need to be planning now, Michael. Michael, thank you for the call.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Here with you, taking your calls. 27 minutes past the hour. Stick around. Well, it's Tuesday. We have 4 more days to continue or finish our fund drive. I got a note from one of the folks at Free Speech TV yesterday that we are way behind. This show is way behind. Well, actually, I think right across the board, people are way behind. But speaking of this program, we've been raising around $1,000 a day. I think yesterday was around $1,200 or $1,400. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fund drive, we have to hit $12,000 a day for the next 4 days, which includes today. It's going to be a real challenge. I know I've been, encouraging people to make small gifts, $3, $5 on an ongoing basis. And a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, of $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood. As people actually, see things that if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with which says "Tag You're It," which is our, the slogan for our program. With a $120 gift, you've got your choice of 3 different things. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America because the Republican obstructionism. I mean, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year, maybe it's a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job, it pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Or the Just Effing Vote t-shirt, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, which is, 2 of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, well, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity, or whatever it may be. We all need to be doing the same thing. And this t-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
Okay. 1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet, where we all meet on the internet. With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all 3 of them, Supreme Court voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. In all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, travel and the coronavirus. But you can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip, that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. Earth by France Fanon. Coming up on the Science Revolution this week, first, Trump is using the same logic on COVID-19 that he used for pesticides and pollution. And I'll explain why that's not a good thing. Nilay Marian, Forestry and Biodiversity Framework Coordinator with Friends of the Earth International, is here. Can we stop mass extinctions? Eva Hamer, Legal Coordinator of Direct Action Everywhere, drops by on her article, Why I Went Topless at Costco. Plus, geeky science. This is what happens when public transit is free. But wait, there's more. Tune in to the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are found. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Mick in Seattle. Hey, Mick, what's on your mind today? Well, how are you dealing with the coronavirus?
Leaving.
Leaving? Leaving where? Yeah. For where?
For a place less populated.
Ah, seriously?
Yeah, the way to do it is to be nomadic and learn self-sustainability. Mm-hmm. You, having lived aboard a sailboat, know that you can move from place to place with your boat. I choose to go place to place with an RV.
Ah.
The problem is, though, Tom, is that we've been stigmatized as being not just travelers, but people who are homeless.
Well, there are some homeless people who are living in generally pretty broken down RVs. We had one parked in our neighborhood, and they were throwing trash all over our front yard, but which included what I assume were insulin syringes. But I realize that's the exception, not the rule. The rule of people living in RVs is that they're people who are having a good life and traveling around. So you bought an RV and you're going to go traveling.
I think leaving simplifies the problem, especially when there's limited resources, being that if you live simply so others can simply live, you are able to then forage and learn about edible plants and medicinal plants. And also, since I was one of the ones that attended the first Earth Day at Davis back in the day, I learned about collaborating and cooperating. So people who live this way do that.
Yeah, well, good on you, Mick, and I wish you the very best. And I particularly get it, being in the Seattle area, that getting out of town, getting out while the getting's good might be a prudent thing to do, at least over the short term. Thank you very much for the call. Jeff in Houston, Texas. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
I'm hoping you can talk me down. I have a terrified suspicion that COVID-19 will spread to such a degree that the elections will be suspended in November.
I spent the better part of 3 hours this last weekend. I was writing an op-ed about this very topic, which, actually about the larger topic, about how Trump could actually lose the popular vote and the Electoral College vote and still stay in the White House as the official president of the United States. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the initial research for this, and I finally finished writing this thing on Saturday, and it'll probably get published one day this week. And it's a possibility, and it's something that Republicans are actually talking about. But postponing the election, I spent at least 3 hours just scrubbing the internet and looking at federal code and going through the Patriot Act and everything I could find. And I can't find anything anywhere that authorizes the president, Congress, or anybody else to suspend federal elections. It doesn't seem to exist.
I just wonder, with pandemic levels, people, people congregating in voting booths is a terrible idea.
Right, which is why we need to have national. Every state should be planning for a huge vote by mail effort in November. I mean, that's all we have here in Oregon and just north of us in Washington State. It's all vote by mail. There are no polling places, which is super convenient and has raised voter participation up into the high 60s, low 70s, depending on the election. And we should be doing that all over the country. I realize in Texas, where you're living, Jeff, it's a lot more problematic.
Yeah, they're throwing up roadblocks, at every turn.
Of course they are, but I'm with you, but I don't think that they're going to suspend the election. I think that and to the extent that this has an impact on the election, I think it's going to be one that's going to be negative for Trump. But time will tell. Thanks a lot for the call, Jeff. Joe in Minneapolis. Hey, Joe, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Hey, I could go on and on with all the things that I enjoy about your program, and I've come to really like it. You and Richard Wolff are about the only two that I listen to, and I could go on and on with all the things about the program that I like, but I'd be singing to the choir. So let me just say this: I want to make a plea to all the listeners out there. My wife and I we're stretched financially, so I wouldn't normally make commitments to things financially. But when I finish this call, I'm going to go ahead and sign up and even make a minimum monthly commitment. And I encourage everybody on board to do it too. Let's all do it today, and maybe
for Free Speech TV. Yeah, Joe, I'm Lise should not have put your call on the board. She should have just thanked you, because you got people listening on commercial radio who don't know what you're talking about. You got people listening on community radio. They may be in a fundraising drive, but the bottom line is support however you're getting this program. If you're listening to it, on Sirius XM or WCPT or KTNF or in Talk 910 in San Francisco or KT, I shouldn't go through a whole list of our commercial stations.
I got it. In terms of the virus, then, Tom, let me just say, I think all your suggestions about storing up some of the basics is one of the best ideas that I've seen yet. Let's all do it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. And thank you for your kind words and for helping out Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is a huge resource. They carry our program nationwide. If you've got Dish or Direct satellite TV, you can find the Free Speech TV channel. Steve in New York City. Hey, Steve, what's up?
How are you? I think what Trump's poor leadership is really screwing things up, and I also think we need an Andrew Yang solution to fix the economy. I think the Treasury should issue $1 trillion platinum coins, issue money into circulation, and stimulate the economy.
Oh, this is the modern monetary theory. That's not to stimulate the economy. That's simply to pay off the national debt.
Well, it's an idea, because I think the Treasury should issue currency, not the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve currency has debt attached to it. I also think that the economy is basically is collapsing for many different reasons. Richard Wolff brought up the reason why the business cycle and also
the Fed keeping the interest rates low for a decade has produced this massive debt overhang: corporate debt, government debt, individual debt, student debt. It's absolutely unprecedented. We've never seen debt levels this high in the history of the world. Certainly not in the history of the United States. With regard to the Treasury Department issuing our currency as opposed to the Fed, there is a strong argument to be made for having the Fed be relatively independent, which it is, and have some control over our money supply. Because if you have a president like Donald Trump and you've got a corrupt Treasury Secretary like Steve Mnuchin, who, as a banker in California, threw thousands and thousands of people out of their homes with illegal, phony, forged, robo-signed documents, should have been put in jail. Kamala Harris, the Attorney General, seriously considered prosecuting him, ultimately decided not to. She should have, frankly. But if that was the trio or the duo, Trump and Mnuchin, who were in charge of our money supply, you know what they would be doing right now. They would be debasing our currency so that the next president would have to deal with hyperinflation. And that would not be a good thing. So I think that keeping it out of the political realm is actually a good thing. But I get your other points, and I agree with them. Steve, thank you for the call. Kathy in Quincy, Illinois. Hey, Kathy, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Thank you for taking my phone call.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, if a person has got the coronavirus, could they infect their pet, their animals that are with them?
There is some anecdotal evidence that dogs and cats can get coronavirus, but at this point, it's rare and it's anecdotal. So why? Do you think you may have it? Are you self-quarantined?
No. Yeah. Oh, I don't go hardly any place. And I'm on disability, and my health is.
Yeah. So it was more of a intellectual curiosity question. Yeah, Kathy, I wouldn't worry about it. Jay in Denver. Hey, Jay, what's up?
The governor of Colorado issued the state of emergency.
Good on him. Good on him.
Yeah, and he's going to work on getting, I think starting tomorrow, there's going to be drive-through testing if you have a doctor's recommendation.
That's great. I noted last night on MSNBC, I saw Jay Inslee was on Rachel's show, and he was talking about how the state of Washington was not relying on the CDC test kits any longer. He went out and got his own. And, I don't know where he's getting them from. I think he mentioned where he was getting them from. I just don't remember. But that's a good thing. And other states need to be doing that. You cannot rely on the Trump administration for anything. They will lie through their teeth. Trump telling us, anybody in the country can get tested if they want. Just lying through his friggin' teeth. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. He's also trying to make accommodations for, food service industry people, hourly people, so they can get paid and not have to deliver food when they're sick, and get everyone else sick.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think that what this restaurant in California has been doing since January, what I thought was my brilliant idea yesterday when I put it on Facebook and I opened the show with it, which is that, restaurants at the front door should have somebody with one of these devices that can measure your temperature simply by pointing it at your forehead. And they're not expensive. They're $20, $30. You can buy them in drugstores. You can buy them on Amazon. There's no run on them, to the best I can tell right now. I just bought one on Amazon for $19 last week. That every restaurant, every office building, and every school, you've got security officers in office buildings and in schools. Those security officers could be taking people's temperatures as they're walking into the schools, into the office buildings, and restaurants. This particular restaurant, 3 different locations in California. If you have a fever, if you refuse to be tested at the door, they won't seat you. And if you do have a fever, of course, they're not going to serve you. But they will make phone calls, whatever you want. They'll call your doctor, they'll call a clinic, they'll call an ambulance, they'll call a taxi, whatever. And obviously this is not a coronavirus diagnosis. It's just, hey, you've got a fever. You might have a cold, you might have a flu, you might have an infection. God only knows. But, we're not going to serve you. I think that's like reasonable stuff. So, and
keep up the good work, Tom.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jay. And we need to be doing and thinking about reasonable stuff. Jay, thanks a lot for the call. We'll continue this conversation, and about what we can do without getting into panic mode. I mean, there's no need to freak out and get hysterical. The biggest problem that we're facing right now is one that Trump caused, which is without testing, we're going to have people spreading this thing, and we're going to be overloading our hospitals.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And when we start overloading our hospitals, then we're going to have a crisis. And we don't want that to happen. So let's stop community spread. And welcome back. Deborah in Denver, watching us on YouTube. Hey, Deborah, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I watch your show every day, and if I can't watch it, I can always go back and watch it. So I love YouTube. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Real quick. So if you can't really get to a doctor, or they don't want to test you because they're overcrowded, or they don't have the testing equipment, I can tell you, I watched this show on PBS probably about 12 years ago, and they showed a segment about Galileo during the Black Plague, and what they did, he sent his daughter to the convent because people were just dying, and he didn't want that to happen to his family, so he went and stayed with them too. They used the Master Cleanse. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Master Cleanse. It's lemons and cayenne pepper, distilled water, sea salt, maple syrup, and everybody who took that didn't die. And
mostly
I don't know if you can get it or not.
Yeah, I've read histories of the Black Plague, and it was transmitted by rats, or by fleas that were transmitted by rats. And in fact, one of the stories that came out of the Black Plague was the Pied Piper. But the convents were clean places. They were like just super clean, and they didn't have rats. And that's why they were havens of safety during the Black Plague, during the bubonic plague. I don't think it's because they were taking cayenne pepper. Although, I think taking cayenne pepper is a wonderful thing. When Louise and I were young, in fact, it was when she was pregnant with our oldest daughter, this guy, Dr. Christopher, who was an herbalist, came through East Lansing, and he was teaching herbal medicine. And we were fascinated. We went to his classes for weeks. And what he did is every single morning, he'd take a tablespoon of cayenne pepper, put it in a glass of water, and stir it up and take it as a shot. to revivify your immune system and all that kind of stuff. And we did that. We did that for like a year. And our daughter, who was born after that, to this day, you can't give her enough hot sauce. I memean, she walks into restaurants, Ethiopian restaurants, and says, "Bring me the whole cayenne pepper, or jalapeno. I'll eat it." We were actually in one Ethiopian restaurant a couple of years ago, and they brought out they stuff jalapenos with onions. And she ate like 3 of them. The cook had to come out and say, who is this person who can eat this stuff?
That's funny.
Yeah, but anyway, I think it's a good thing. I think it's healthy. Cayenne pepper has known, just like garlic, has known health benefits. But it's not going to save us from the plague.
It's not just cayenne pepper. It was the lemon juice. It was
sure.
the
you get the vitamin C from
together that kept it out. But they showed it on PBS, and it was about how they all took it. They boiled the lemons, and they made the solution out of it, and it really helped them. So it might be an idea for people out there. It's a little pale yellow booklet, and it has like a drawing of a tree. It's a booklet you can get from the Vitamin Cottage. I think it's called, what's the name of that store now? Natural Grocers.
Right.
And that's the only place I could find the booklet. So I'm so used to seeing Vitamin Cottage, but anyway, you can buy it there. It's really cheap. It's an inexpensive way to try to get your immune system up.
Yeah, there you go. Lots of great ideas. Deborah, thank you for the call. And the best, Bill Maher said this the other night. I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. The best protection against the coronavirus. I mean, odds are if you get exposed and infected, you're going to develop symptoms. Your best protection against dying or getting severely ill is to be healthy, which means if you smoke, quit now. And, if you are not exercising, start now. And just start living healthy habits. We'll be right back. Hey, did you know that Hillary Clinton actually won Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Florida in the 2016 election? It's on page 92 of my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Welcome back. 51 minutes past the hour. Thom Hartmann here with you. Phil in Downers Grove, Illinois. Hey, Phil. Hey, Phil, what's up?
Tom. Hey, Tom. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I just wanted to make a quick comment about testing, people as they come to a restaurant or any sort of business. There was a study that came out just yesterday that, as far as the coronavirus is concerned, there's a 5-day period where the carrier will have the virus and not show any symptoms.
You're right.
So,
and you can be shedding the virus. So, obviously, if you're measuring people's temperature at the door, you're going to catch those people who are pre-symptomatic. But on the other hand, once you start becoming symptomatic, if you have a mild case, it can last up to a month. And during that entire time, you have a fever, what's called an intermittent fever, where it goes up and down, but there's always this low-grade fever at the very least. And so, it's better than nothing.
Agree.
Okay.
I totally agree.
Okay, thanks a lot, Phil. Yep, good point. Lindsay in Landon, Pennsylvania. Hey, Lindsay, what's on your mind?
Hey, I just wanted to point out this article I read earlier today, posted by The Hill, that Italy suspends mortgage payments during coronavirus shutdown.
I saw that in the Financial Times this morning. I was waiting to find a little more in-depth article because that one did not say whether the government was going to compensate the banks or whether the government was going to compensate it. How are they doing this? I don't know the mechanism, but yeah, and it wasn't just mortgage payments. It was mortgage payments and other credit payments. Now, whether that's extending to credit cards or what, again, the article that I saw in the Financial Times didn't have a lot of detail. Do you know any of those answers, Lindsay?
So the article I'm looking at just talks about expanding its emergency economic package. So it talks about the initial 7.5 billion euros. There's numbers there, but I don't think it talks about where it would be coming from.
Right.
But even just the way in which they coalesced around their residents and shut down the borders. They started with northern Italy and then expanded to the entire country. They're saying, only go out for, emergent, necessary employment.
Right.
I can't imagine, a government just taking care of its citizens' basic needs like that. And it's just in light of this whole, we've got this conversation about democratic socialism and the distinction between communism, which everybody seems to think is the same thing, and these centrist Democrats. It's just like, imagine if your country just said, you know what, let's take care of people. And I just think that's a beautiful thing that so many of these sort of socialist leaning countries in Europe and across like the Norwegian countries are doing. And I don't understand people's hesitancy towards that kind of lifestyle.
Well, it's not people's hesitancy. It's the hesitancy of politicians who are funded by lobbyists who represent the industries that don't want that to happen. In Italy, you get a month off paid vacation every year. That's required by law. In Italy, you can go to college essentially for free. In Italy, everybody has health care. In Italy, you have paid maternal leave. I'm not sure if they have paternal leave. They do in all the Scandinavian countries. I mean, this is straightforward stuff. Michael Moore did, I don't know if you've seen his movie, Where to Invade Next, where he travels all around the world and finds countries that have great, examples that we can emulate. And it was Italy where he was looking at vacations and paid time off. And of course, everybody, we're literally the only developed country in the world out of the 34 OECD countries. We're the only one that doesn't have paid sick leave as mandatory nationwide. So, it's crazy.
I know, and paternity and maternity leave. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm high risk, and I've got all these doctor's appointments. And just trying to balance, you sit there across from the receptionist, and she wants to schedule you for this day at this time, and you go, I can't, I have to work. Yeah. And they just expect you to be able to take time off of work. Like, that's part of our society. It's
right.
not.
And it hurts people.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It really is. Lindsay, thank you for the call. Thanks for your comments and for pointing out the Italian situation. Scott in Beaverton, Oregon. Hey, Scott, what's up?
Hey, how you do, Professor Hartmann?
I'm well. What's up?
Good. How long do you think it would take Trump to stumble on the idea that he has the power to declare a national emergency and shut down our borders and suspend our constitutional rights?
I don't think he can suspend our constitutional rights. He could close our borders. He already largely has, our southern border, certainly, and declared a state of emergency in order to do that. In fact, that's how he was able to take money out of the Pentagon budget to build his damn wall. I don't think that he could get away with suspending elections or massive suspensions of constitutional rights. Lincoln suspended habeas corpus under a state of emergency during the Civil War, and the Supreme Court later ruled that that was unconstitutional. I don't think that God only knows. I mean, with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court and all these guys trying to politicize the court, heaven only knows. But what the existential threat that you're describing here, Scott, is really not so much for right now, but for a second Trump term. That's when he will go full Mussolini on us. And that's what concerns me the most. And Scott, thank you very much for the call. We'll be back. We'll continue our conversation. I got to tell you about the mayor of Kansas City. Had an interesting experience this last week. And a few other stories of the day, and we'll continue our conversations about the coronavirus. Today is voting day in a bunch of states. If if it's primary day in your state, be sure to get out there and vote. We'll be back. Stick around. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, where we dare to ask, is Walmart a person?
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
got a new video up for regular supporters of our program over at ThomHartmann.com, and this is about just a totally bizarre story about these three guys with no VA experience, not even veterans, who are all big shots down at Mar-a-Lago, that Donald Trump has put in charge of the Veterans Administration functionally. And their association, one of them is the head of Marvel Entertainment, their association with Johnson & Johnson and the New York Stock Exchange, and Johnson & Johnson, the big drug company, taking this very, very cheap chemical, ketamine, tweaking the molecule a little bit, and rolling it out as a new anti-suicide drug, Spravato, that in clinical trials caused 6 people to die, 3 of them by suicide, and none of the people taking the placebo to die. And now Trump is telling the VA, you have to buy this highly inflated price drug from Johnson & Johnson. And the Democrats want to know what's up with the VA crowd guys. Check it out. Well, it's Tuesday. We have 4 more days to continue or finish our fund drive. I got a note from one of the folks at Free Speech TV yesterday that we are way, way behind. This show is way behind. Well, actually, I think right across the board, people are way behind. But speaking of this program, we've been raising around $1,000 a day. I think yesterday was around $1,200 or $1,400. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fund drive, we have to hit $12,000 a day for the next 4 days, which includes today. It's going to be a real challenge. I know I've been, encouraging people to make small gifts, $3, $5 on an ongoing basis. And a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, about $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood. As people actually, see things that are, if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with which says "Tag You're It," which is our, the slogan for our program. With a $120 gift, you've got your choice of 3 different things. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America because the Republican obstructionism. I mean, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year. Maybe it's only a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job. It pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting, or the Just Effing Vote T-shirt, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV T-shirt, which is, two of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity or whatever it may be. We all need to be doing the same thing. And this T-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 T-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
Okay. 1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet where we all meet on the internet. With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all three of them, Supreme Court Voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. In all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, travel and the coronavirus. But you can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip, that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. Later, let us get over the tedious but necessary issue of definitions quickly. Broadly speaking, the state in this book will refer to the political governance structure of a country. In much of this book, it'll refer to the federal government. The book, The Third Pillar, How Markets and the State Leave the Community Behind.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. A lot going on around the world related to the coronavirus. And some stuff happening here. For example, the Trump youth leader. Yes, there is such. Remember there was a Hitler youth? No, this is called the Trump youth. It's kind of hard to get your head around. But anyhow, the leader's a guy named Charlie Kirk. And he's trying to explain to us why Trump's, keep in mind, when the coronavirus was starting to break out in China back in November or December, the World Health Organization and countries all over the world got together to develop a test kit. And that's why South Korea has tested, 100,000 people, and China has tested zillions of people, and everybody's testing all over the world. No problem. Countries are setting up drive-through test stations and things like this. But here in Oregon, I shared the story with you at the beginning of the show. Here in Oregon, we're running out of test kits. And we only had 1,500 to begin with, and each test kit, it takes 2 test kits to test somebody, at least the type that we have here in Oregon, which are the ones that we got from the CDC. And so, presumably in the newsletter I get this afternoon, or the bulletin I get every day from the Oregon Department of Health, it'll tell me whether they got some more test kits. What they were expecting, what they were hoping to get this week from the federal government was 4,000 or 5,000 of them, which will be enough to test a couple thousand people. But so anyhow, Trump completely botched this. And that's why we're seeing community spread, because people don't know that they have it. They think they have a cold. They're not getting tested, and they're out running around infecting other people. And this is, what happened in northern Italy. And I wonder, I've spent some time in Italy, and Italians, the way they greet each other is they kiss people on the cheeks. What a rapid way to spread something. I wonder if that, if there's this cultural stuff that has to do with it. And I also wonder, in some cultures, you just bow to somebody. You don't touch them. I wonder if that's like a remnant from some epidemic from, 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago or something. And are we all going to start bowing and namasteing rather than, hugging and kissing and shaking hands and all the other things that we do? Or is the fist bump going to become the new thing? But anyhow, back to Charlie Kirk and the Trump youth. What he's saying is that Trump's incompetent response to this, Trump's absolutely screwing this up. Trump and his administration, and by the way, the Republicans in Congress who make fun of this stuff, like Matt Gaetz showing up in Congress wearing a gas mask. Now he's in quarantine, right? And he discovered he should be quarantined when he was on Air Force One a couple of days ago. Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida. This guy, Kirk, is saying that their incompetence should be excused because back when it was H1N1, the swine flu in 2009, that Obama botched it, right? This he tweeted this out. This is your daily reminder that it took Barack Obama until October of 2009 to declare swine flu a national health emergency. It began in April 2009, but Obama waited until 20,000 people in the U.S. had been hospitalized and 1,000 had died. Where was the media hysteria then? So he tweeted that out, and Rudy Giuliani, Trump retweets it. And Rudy Giuliani signs off on it and says, oh, yeah, this is the case. Well, actually, it's a lie. It's just a plain old flat up, straight out lie. President Obama declared a public health emergency in April of 2009 when there had been just 20 cases of H1N1 confirmed in the United States. We had 20 cases of swine flu in the United States in April, and Obama declared a public health emergency. 2 days later, he submitted a funding request to Congress, and they started getting active and doing something about it. Trump, of course, knew that this thing was coming for months. We had an outbreak here in the United States. He did nothing. He went golfing. What did he do? Day before yesterday, he was golfing. What was he doing all last week? He's been playing golf at our expense. And charging the Secret Service $600 a night for the hotel rooms at the Trump resorts. And in October, when there had been 1,000 deaths, Obama declared a national emergency. Now, that was different from the health emergency. But he declared it a health emergency, a national health emergency in April of 2009. So this Trump youth leader is just lying through his teeth. So what's going on all around the world, okay? The World Trade Organization, the WTO, just suspended all meetings until March, and then they're going to reconsider. In Italy, this is just kind of a summary roundup of what's happening around the world that the Financial Times put together that I'm sharing with you very quickly. Italy's coronavirus case tally tops 10,000. They now have 10,149 confirmed cases. Now, we may well have 10,000 in the United States. I'm guessing that we don't have that many, but given how many people are getting sick, we may have thousands. We just have no idea because the head of Alex Azar, the head of Health and Human Services, was asked yesterday on national television, how many people have been tested in the United States? And he was like, I don't know. Seriously, that's what he said. I don't know. Well, it was 7,000 in Italy on Sunday. It went to 9,171 on Monday, and today it's 10,149. There's 631 people dead in Italy. Italy has locked down the entire country. And they are suspending debt and interest payments, mortgage payments and others. We mentioned this in the last hour. A caller called in to talk about it. I'm still waiting to get all the details on this. Actually, Sean printed this piece out for me. Royal Bank of Scotland said Tuesday, this is in the UK, they're doing this too. Royal Bank of Scotland said Tuesday that customers who fall into financial difficulty as a result of the coronavirus can ask for their mortgage or loan payments to be delayed for up to 3 months. In Italy, the economic ministry said Tuesday that mortgage payments would be suspended. More details of the suspension will be published later Tuesday or Wednesday. So I guess we just don't. The reason why I don't know yet is because it hasn't been published. So anyhow, there's that. In Germany, Angela Merkel, the Prime Minister of Germany, or Chancellor is the official title there, has said that all large public events in Germany are officially off. Her specific comment in front of she was speaking to the Bundestag, the German parliament, she said, matches in front of empty tributes, it's a British translation of the German, stands, okay? Matches in front of empty stands are not the worst thing that can happen to this country. And she's right. I mean, you look back at the flu epidemic in the United States in 1918 or 1919, whichever year it was. It hit us in the spring and people died, but that wasn't the big one. Then it kind of went away during the summer, as flu tends to do, and we don't know if the coronavirus is going to do that or not. But then it came back with a vengeance in the fall, and that fall, there were two cities, I believe it was either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. It was a city in Pennsylvania versus St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis canceled all their public events because of the flu epidemic back in the 19-teens. But this city in Pennsylvania held a parade, and they had a spike in the cases, in the number of deaths, and the number of people who got sick. So Germany, they point out they've got this big match coming up between Dortmund and Schalke on Saturday. It normally has 80,000 fans. I mean, that's a big stadium, and it's going to be played on TV. Nobody visiting. India has restricted travelers from France, Germany, and Spain. If you come into India, you must have a compelling reason. You must obtain a fresh visa from the nearest Indian embassy. They also canceled all visas, India did, from China, Italy, Iran, South Korea, and Japan. It's just a matter of time before the rest of the world starts canceling U.S. visas. The EU's chief Brexit negotiator says he still plans to travel to London, but we'll see. New York City is closing schools and other buildings near this hotspot in New Rochelle, and Governor Cuomo has deployed National Guard troops to assist with sanitizing efforts there. Now, this is not the National Guard standing out in front of your house with a gun saying you may not go out. This is the National Guard helping to clean and sanitize buildings, the schools specifically, in the area where this virus was spreading. But, when the headline says, Governor calls out National Guard, people go, whoa, they're taking this seriously. We have 647 cases of the coronavirus known in the United States as of an hour or two ago, according to the Financial Times. Rome's Trevi Fountain was just closed off. Greece just closed all their schools and universities for 2 weeks. The UK hospitality industry is begging for financial assistance. The airport passenger traffic forecast has been cut by 12%. In the United States, several of our airlines have cut back on flights. I believe it was American said they were cutting 10%. Delta has cut flights. United has cut flights. Darden, yesterday I was telling you about how Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, that they were refusing to give their employees paid sick time. Judd Legum wrote about this in popular.info, his newsletter yesterday. I shared that with you. Today they came out and said, okay, we're going to give our people paid sick time. And so, that's a good thing. And, on it goes. The Ivy League has canceled basketball tournaments. France is pushing for EU to respond. Italy and Portugal, their central bankers are having an emergency meeting. Harvard University has just canceled all in-person classes. Italy has banned tourism during the lockdown. The DRC, this is the Democratic Republic of Congo, has reported it's confirmed its first case of coronavirus. It's a guy from Belgium, and he was tested positive at the airport in Kinshasa. Apparently, they're catching folks there. So anyhow, a lot going on, and all around the world. The EU relaxes slot rules to help the airline industry cope with the coronavirus. UK confirms 54 more cases of coronavirus. Swiss cases now jump by more than half to 476. This is an increase of 50% in 24 hours because they're starting to test people. And we're going to start seeing that here in the United States as the test kits become more widely available.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this. It's 18 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Let's see here. MJ in Puget Sound near Seattle in Washington. Hey, MJ, what's on your mind today?
Well, you can. My sense of excitement and agitation is high because, I'm right here where a lot of things are happening. Mm-hmm. I first want to say I think the Trump administration totally turned its back on us, the whole United States.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues
they didn't just turn their back on us; they went golfing, literally.
Yeah, right. It was a so what kind of finger up deal, yep. and the fact that I think the whole test kit thing has gone to. He wanted to save that for a patron of his to give it to them, that we would be making the test kits, because they started out at $3,000 a piece, and I don't know what they are now.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons we didn't get to have test kits was that, somebody could make some money on us.
I agree.
And I've been talking to people, elders and people who are compromised, and they are breaking down. They are having trouble getting food. They're worried about going out. And they've told me, I cannot go to the hospital should I become ill. I cannot go because I will lose my house, and without my house, I die.
Right.
It's are you going to die this way? Are you going to die that way? Because our system hasn't been taking care of us for such a long time.
Yes.
Now, I do have some statistics between the first case here in our area and the next case that appeared. Some clever
in the Seattle area. Yeah.
That's right. Someone who really knows numbers and can do the projections according to even the slight genetic changes in a virus as it goes through people. Mm-hmm. And this information came from the Daily, which is a New York Times 1/2 hour that we get on the radio here every day.
Oh yeah,
weekday.
Yeah, it's a podcast. I subscribe to it actually. I listen to it sometimes to fall asleep.
So go back to exactly a week ago, and you will hear them talking about our situation. We didn't get to hear it here because Mike Pence was in our area, and that half hour was consumed with the governor and the Mike Pence talking.
Okay.
But I always go back. I go back and listen to it. So the deal is that taking those statistics and being scientific about it, the time between the first case showing up and the period of time when we thought, well, that's it, we got it stopped, nothing's happening. The projections are somewhere between 300 to 500, and possibly on the outside, 1,500 cases going unnoticed.
That's correct. I've seen those. In fact, I was citing those statistics 2 days ago, I think.
To be able to know what to do for your own health, you have to have information. And I think this business about not getting us upset has, created...
I don't think it's that Trump's trying to prevent us from getting upset. I think he's trying to keep the numbers low because he doesn't want to spook the stock market, because he doesn't want his rich friends to lose money in the stock market. And he thinks it reflects poorly on him and it's going to hurt his reelection chances. And it does reflect poorly on him and it will hurt his reelection chances. But that's no reason to let the public die. MJ, thanks for the call. We'll be right back. Our 1-hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3-hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. Welcome back, Dave. Thom Hartmann here with you. Nancy in Minneapolis. Hey, Nancy, what's on your mind?
Hi, I'm a nurse at a Metropolitan Hospital here in Minneapolis, and I wanted to compare Obama's response to Ebola as opposed to Trump's response to Corona.
Okay.
So in 2014, I was part of the first responders group for Ebola, and we were trained hours and hours and retrained to wear special suits, hazmat suits. We had a plan that if somebody came into our emergency room, that we had a room in the emergency room that they would go to until we could get them to a special wing of the hospital that we had blocked off just for Ebola.
Right.
And we would train each other to make sure that we did not spread that at all. So like every other month, we would be trained again and again. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to now. My hospital is aware of it, of the coronavirus. We're the only thing that we've been told is that the N90 masks that we use are in shortage. So use them 5 times and then throw them away. And
Instead
that's
of
the
once.
only thing we've got.
Wow.
Huh?
Wow. So you're getting no training, you're getting no support. Do you have any test kits there, Nancy?
No. As of Sunday, the Minnesota Department of Health had no test kits.
Sweet Jesus. This
in the last,
this man's incompetence is killing people. It's literally killing people.
Right.
And it's going to kill a lot more people. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Nancy, thank you for sharing that story with us. I'm sorry to hear it, but thank you. Martin in Huntington Beach, California. It sounds like you've actually got a little positive news.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just was in Trader Joe's the other day, and I walked in, and the employee was spitting everybody. He just asked everyone to put their hands up, and just like that,
So you spraying your hands with alcohol or hand sanitizer?
Yeah, I think it might, it didn't have the gel, so it was more of an alcohol, maybe water. But you could just buy 91% rubbing alcohol and use that.
Sure.
And anybody could do that.
Yeah, anything over 60% actually is what they're saying. So you could even dilute that isopropyl that you pick up at the drugstore a little bit, and put it in a spray bottle and spray people's hands. That's great that Trader Joe's is doing that. I don't know if they're doing it nationwide or it's just your store in California, but that's great. I mean, this is like a variation on the.
I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, on the restaurant. Yeah, it's like the restaurant that's taking people's temperatures. Martin, thank you for the call. Bill in Clifton, New Jersey. Hey, Bill, what's up?
Yeah, hi. One thing I wanted to point out before all the isopropyl alcohol disappears is that you can buy Everclear, which is 100% grain alcohol at any,
at any liquor store. You're right.
It's 100% proof. I mean, it's less toxic than,
it's not quite 100%, but it's damn close. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing going about is that we have to do something about modernizing our way of coming up with antiviral drugs so it's faster, not have to do it with human tests. And it could be done on a computer, a supercomputer, and
they're actually starting to do that, Bill. They're modeling this stuff using computers. They're also doing it on tissue cultures, so they don't have to use animals. It's much faster. Bill, your point is great. Thank you.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It's coming up on 28 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls and the news of the day. Oh, and I got to tell you about this Kansas City mayor right after this. Well, it's Tuesday. We have 4 more days to continue or finish our fund drive. I got a note from one of the folks at Free Speech TV yesterday that we are way, way behind. This show is way behind. Well, actually, I think right across the board, people are way behind. But speaking of this program, we've been raising around $1,000 a day. I think yesterday was around $1,200 or $1,400. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fund drive, we have to hit $12,000 a day for the next 4 days, which includes today. It's going to be a real challenge. I know I've been, encouraging people to make small gifts, $3, $5 on an ongoing basis. And a lot of you have done that, and I really appreciate it if you have. Thank you so much. That helps us. It helps the network. But if you're capable of giving a large gift today and you have not yet given a contribution to Free Speech TV, of $50 or $100 or $200 or something like that, today is the day to do it. And, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But, this is the end of the fund drive, and we really are behind and really need your help. So please call now, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. And we have, a group of premiums, of course. There's the proud student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker with $20 gift. Also with a $20 gift, you can get the car magnet, I'm Voting Are You car magnet. And, this election, whether we have a candidate that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about, or we have a candidate that a lot of people are like, well, he's better than Trump, we still need to get everybody out to vote. This is such a critical thing. So that car magnet, that $20 gift, a big deal. Get the message out in the neighborhood. Actually, see things that are, if they're on your bumper sticker, or on your bumper rather. And then there's the tote bag, the Just Effing Vote tote bag. We need to, be getting this message out here. You can go to the store and pick up your groceries and share a message. There's with a $75 gift, you've got the Thom Hartmann mug, and with a $120 gift, you've got your choice. Tag You're It, which is our the slogan for our programs. There's my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, in which I lay out how the Republican voting suppression campaign strategy, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is how they win. This is the only reason why George Bush and Donald Trump became president was voter suppression. And I lay it out and I prove it in the book. And the only reason why at least a half a dozen Republican senators and probably 40, 50, 60 members of the Republican members of the House are in their seats, are holding these positions, is because of voter suppression. This is the number one problem in America, because the Republican obstructionism, for example, here in Oregon, Republicans shut down the state legislature for a couple of weeks, so nothing got done. Our legislature only meets for, maybe I think it's a couple of months out of the year. Maybe it's only a few weeks out of the year. It's a part-time job. It pays like $20,000 a year, and or maybe a little less than 30. But the point is that the Republicans shut it down over a cap and trade bill that the Democrats were proposing to limit climate change, greenhouse gas emissions. The Republican Party is owned by the fossil fuel industry. And I lay out in this book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, how that fossil fuel industry is demanding that Republicans deny climate change and science, among other things. And how they brought the white supremacists to the party and all this stuff. And then the specific things that they're doing. So that's with a $120 gift, an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Or the Just Effing Vote t-shirt, or the Ask Me About Free Speech TV t-shirt, which is, two of our most important messages. Tell your friends about Free Speech TV and get them to watch it. We know that, Fox News has, is most of their spread, particularly among the boomers, has been one person telling another person, well, I saw this amazing thing last night on Hannity, or whatever it may be. We all need to be doing the same thing. And this t-shirt, this $120 premium, and this is the sweet spot for getting our donations up for these last 4 days to try to hit our goals. This $120 t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, is a great place to start.
1 minute.
So there's that. With a $240 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann virtual virus-free meet and greet, where we all meet on the internet With a $300 gift, you get the Get Out the Vote pack, a set of Free Speech TV host postcards, the car magnet to get out the vote, the Just Effing Vote tote bag, and an autographed copy of The Hidden History of the War on Voting. With a $360 gift, you get the Hidden History book set, all three of them, Supreme Court Voting and Second Amendment. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland. You know, in all probability, we're going to pause these things until the fall and see if things settle down a little bit with regard to, you know, travel and the coronavirus. But you can still make a $1,000 gift and kind of put it on hold for right now, the trip, that is. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We need your help. Thank you. Coming up on the Science Revolution this week, first, Trump is using the same logic on COVID-19 that he used for pesticides and pollution. And I'll explain why that's not a good thing. Nilay Marian, Forestry and Biodiversity Framework Coordinator with Friends of the Earth International, is here. Can we stop mass extinctions? Eva Hamer, Legal Coordinator of Direct Action Everywhere, drops by on her article, Why I Went Topless at Costco. Plus, geeky science. This is what happens when public transit is free. But wait, there's more. Tune in to the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are found. 34 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Talk media for the rest of us on today, as voters in 6 states are going out to vote in the Democratic primary. The mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, a state under control of Republicans, where the Republican Secretary of State has apparently been aggressively purging the voter rolls of undesirable Democratic voters. The mayor, his name is Quentin Lucas, and he went to vote at the same polling place where he's been voting for 11 years. In fact, he has voted there for himself in 4 elections. He gets to the polling place, and they say, oh, sorry, you're no longer on the polling list. You're no longer on the voting list. Here's a provisional ballot that we won't count. Quentin Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, is black. Voting while black. Cassie in San Francisco. Am I saying your name right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's up, Cassie?
People like, fiduciary.
Cassie, you need to take me off speakerphone or talk. In fact, I'm going to put you on hold. I can't hear you. When you call, if you're going to use speakerphone, push the phone right up to your mouth, and otherwise you got to be talking normally. I can't hear people on speakerphones. Marilyn in Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Marilyn, what's up?
Hi, it's the Marine Mom once again. I spoke to my son yesterday. He's deployed with the National Guard in Afghanistan. He usually calls me. He's usually sitting at his desk. Yesterday he was in his bunk. Their entire unit is sick with cough and fever.
Oh, really?
They have not been tested. They're not doing any work. They have not been tested because there are no test kits.
Oh,
the
God.
Nearby Afghan town has 5 confirmed cases of COVID-19.
Oh, my.
So there are test kits in this Afghan town nearby, but they have none. I haven't heard of any cases in the military since that one soldier became ill in South Korea in January.
Right.
I'm wondering if this is being suppressed worldwide. I've not gotten any answers.
Right. It would make
from my
perfect sense that
representative.
Trump would say, don't test them, we don't want the numbers. And they're young and healthy people, so they're probably going to survive it anyway. And the only people it's going to hit are the senior members of the officer corps and
Right.
longtime enlistees, master sergeants who are in their 50s.
Exactly. And that's my point exactly. Their master sergeant visited last week, and he's going to all of the bases who have National Guard troops there. So he's either going to get it and spread it, or he's been given it. Our governor didn't even know about this. I talked to the governor's office, and Wisconsin has had its 3rd case today, 3rd confirmed case.
But
So I think
you believe an entire Marine, whatever you call a group of Marines, battalion, whatever it is?
Battalions are huge. He's part of a company. It's about 400 members.
Thank you.
He's in the National Guard now. He separated from the Marines and signed up with the National Guard. I told you about this because he needed good health insurance.
Right, I remember.
So he's in Afghanistan. He's sick. His buddies are sick. They're not getting tested.
And everybody in that company is coughing and has a fever.
Yes.
Whew. Amazing.
Would you ask Mark Pocan about this tomorrow when
I will.
he's on your show?
I will.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marilyn. And in fact, I would suggest that you call back tomorrow and try to get in. I realize you can't always get through, but I'll do my very best to remember. And Sean and Nate, and we're all sitting here nodding and saying, yes, we will. Oh, Pocan, Sean just told me that Pocan has been moved to Friday because he's got, so it won't be until Friday that we can tell him. But I'll tell you what I will do is when I get off the air, I will send an email to both Congressman Pocan and Congressman Khanna telling them about your phone call. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Marilyn. Good talking with you. David in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hey, David, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I'm going to just add a first world problem of the coronavirus. I don't know if you're aware of the band Pearl Jam, but I was going to go up to Denver and see a show with them, and they canceled their tour.
Yeah, it's happening all over.
Their tour.
Yeah.
But anyways, I want to call about the market volatility in Wall Street and the oil. You know, they said so. The number one, it's taken a hit with the coronavirus, and then they're also with the oil market.
Yeah, I think yesterday's drop was 50-50, but it might have even been 70% oil and 30% coronavirus. It's hard to quantify these things, but that oil thing is huge, and it's going to get if Russia and Saudi Arabia don't come to some sort of an understanding soon. And there are some indications that they are working toward it, and there are other indications that they're actually getting more hostile toward each other. But if they don't come to some sort of an agreement soon to keep oil prices at least above $45 a barrel, within 3 months, you're going to start seeing, number one, oil producers across the United States, all these small fracking companies, and there's hundreds of them in the United States, you're going to start seeing oil producers across the United States declaring bankruptcy. And these companies are all badly in debt. The largest chunk of junk bonds in the marketplace right now are fracking companies. They've been financing everything they're doing by issuing bonds, and these bonds are being held not just by banks, as Richard Wolff said earlier, but they're also being held by pension funds, and they're being held by insurance companies. And when those bonds start going south, that's really going to shake the system hard.
So that's the point I want to make here, Tom. It's not only just a climate crisis that this oil is causing, it's an economic crisis. So, if we move towards a sustainable economy, do the markets not reflect that volatility if we're not dependent on this oil? So another reason why the Democrats should be saying we need to get off of oil because, look what it's doing to people's retirements and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's my other point, Tom. I wish they would tie the two together to say we can't have this volatility on Wall Street or we will not. It would be mitigated with a sustainable economy because if we run out of sunlight for solar or wind, we're SOL anyways.
Right. Yeah. That would be that would be a dinosaur ending scenario. It would take an asteroid in to do that.
I wish Bernie and Biden get a hold of that too. This is just not on one front. This is on multiple fronts.
I'm with you. It's time for the Green New Deal. I'm absolutely with you. Thank you, Cassie. You want to try it again in San Francisco?
Yes, it's Casey.
Casey,
I'm actually
my apologies.
With Nurse Talk Radio.
Okay. Hey, what's up? Oh, with Nurse Talk Radio. Okay, what's up, Casey?
Yeah, so I'm a nurse in San Francisco, and I just wanted to talk about the coronavirus and the lack of testing. So the only way to control it any place is with testing, and we're not testing. We're not testing any medical personnel at all. I think the reason for that, if we begin to test medical personnel, what we're going to see is the system will crash because we will not have enough caregivers working here to sustain our healthcare system.
Well, that's what happened in Wuhan. In the first months of the crisis, not only did several famous doctors get sick and die, but in some of those hospitals they were down to 10% of their staff.
Well, and unfortunately here that may be the case. So what we're doing here in San Francisco is I'm assuming all of my care workers are infected, and we're just using the best possible protection that we can to treat our patients. But
so you don't become spreaders.
Exactly, because I have no idea. So I screen each of the people who come to work every day to ask if they've had a fever, to ask if they've had any symptoms. To their knowledge, have they been with somebody who had coronavirus? But because we work in different areas. So certified nursing assistants work in several different places, and their partner also works in several different places. So because we have corona in the hospitals here, because we have it just in the general milieu, it's impossible to tell who does and who doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And I really suggest that people follow Jay Inslee's advice in Washington. He has the best handle on what's happening because he's already looking at the fact that in our country we only have 35,000 respirators. If 20% of the people who get infected get sick enough to require a respirator, we're going to have to do some real planning about how we're going to do this, because Inslee is already talking about possibly not doing elective surgeries in certain areas of their state, depending on the need for respirators.
And just short of that, stocking up on oxygen tanks and other supplies that are necessary. I understand also that we have about 1 million hospital beds in the United States, and that 20 years ago we had 1.5 million. But that number has been cut because of this massive hospital consolidation as a result of Reagan stopping the enforcement of the Sherman Antitrust Act, combined with several hundred rural hospitals having closed in the last 4 or 5 years because red states will not extend Obamacare, will not extend Medicaid, and so these rural hospitals are just going broke.
Exactly. And here in San Francisco, we have many facilities that are out of personal protective equipment in some of the, not hospitals, but in your care facilities, because staff in a freakout took all the equipment. And so now we have places that don't even have personal protective equipment who are caring for frail elderly. This is a dire situation, and unfortunately our government has been dismantled by the Trump administration, and so our response to a pandemic is woefully lacking.
Now, on top of that, one of my kids is a nurse practitioner, and I didn't realize this, until she was out looking for a job, that large chunks of medicine have been basically turned into the gig economy. There are nurses and NPs and PAs and everything in between who are literally, working in 4 different places part-time in each one of them, or moving from place to place. It's like, there's apps and stuff for this. Do I have this right, Casey?
That you are absolutely right, that is what's happening, and it's very sad. And when you have a pandemic, having people, especially a nurse practitioner, who assesses patients, you're going from place to place, so greater chance for cross-contamination throughout your medical system. It's not a good system, not to mention it's not really good patient care when you have to have 4 different jobs.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Schedule.
This is crazy, and this is why you guys on Nurse Talk Radio and the national nurses are all calling for a national single-payer healthcare system, Medicare for all, and I'm so with that, and this is so much the time for it. And anybody who can't see this because just through the lens of this coronavirus pandemic, it has to be. Blind, I guess, would be the phrase, and not to use that as a slur, but you understand what I'm saying. Casey, it's nice to hear from you. Thank you so much for the call, and keep up the great work on Nurse Talk Radio. We'll be right back. It's 46 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls in just a moment. Sarah in Fort Worth, Texas. Hey, Sarah, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I just found out that I'm going to be a grandma.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But my daughter-in-law, she works in the food industry, and I'm terrified.
Oh, my.
I know. But luckily, it's a chain, and they're only open for lunch and dinner.
So she works in a restaurant?
Yeah, she works in a restaurant, but there's no bar.
Yeah. Well,
time. But
be careful.
Get back to, yeah, I know, yeah. I'm so excited. I've been telling all strangers that I can get to. I'm being a grandma.
I get it.
I'm so excited. Anyway, my question is, how long is it going to be before all the other countries say, we're not going to allow you into our country because of bone spurs not testing citizens?
I think it's going to be probably 2 weeks at the most before we become one of those countries that other countries are quarantined from.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening. Corporal bone spurs. I love that. That's a Tammy Duckworth.
You started it.
No, I got it from Tammy Duckworth, and he just like his incompetence was laughable until it came
mind-boggling.
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
Until it came to something that could actually kill people. And now, there are people dead. There are people dead in the United States who probably would not be dead if we had had access to testing kits. The staff, the people who work in this nursing home in Lakewood, Washington, they haven't been able to test all the staff yet, or as of a day or two ago. It's like, and I know, Jay Inslee's scrambling to get these test kits, and he's found an alternative source. But, I mean, it's just like Trump has not just let us down, he has just damaged us. Sarah, I gotta move on.
The last thing I will say is I wonder how long it's going to take before he will not appear at his own rallies because he's such a coward. He won't risk getting the infection.
Well, I think what he's going to do is he's going to start putting a 50-foot perimeter around his stage. But him not being at a rally, that's a hard one. But, how long is it going to be before the people who attend the rally start figuring out that that's not a good idea? Of course, they're watching Fox News and being lied to. So, Sarah, thank you for the call. Heather in Lansing, Michigan. Hey, Heather, what's up? You have an alcohol update?
Hey, Tom. Well, I was doing some research. I think you had a caller maybe last week who was a nurse and talking about mixing up rubbing alcohol with water in a spray bottle to clean your house because it efficiently cleans all the surfaces. So I, of course, hopped online to buy some rubbing alcohol. And I learned that the 91% is not more efficient. It actually does not break through the cell walls to kill the bacteria inside of the cell walls for bacteria and viruses. The 70% does. The nature of the alcohol, aside from the fact that 91% fumes are highly volatile and flammable, it's probably not safe to spray everywhere.
Right.
But the 70%, because it's diluted with water, has a chance to break through the cells before the coagulation happens, which is what happens ultimately inside the cell. But the 91% coagulates the outside of the cell, creating like a shield.
That's interesting.
So
that's
the inside survives. So don't run out and buy all that 91%, guys. Don't do that.
Or if you do, dilute it a little bit with water. Yeah, just add some water to it.
You can find the recipe online to dilute 91% with purified water, but don't go crazy, but more alcohol isn't better. You're not in college anymore. Think about it.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Great line. Thank you. We'll be right back. Hey, did you know that Hillary Clinton actually won Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Florida in the 2016 election? It's on page 92 of my new book, The Hidden History of the War on Voting. Welcome back. Eileen in Columbia, South Carolina, listening on Sirius XM. Hey, Eileen, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, just fine, Eileen.
Okay, great. I contacted one of my foreign exchange students who's back in Italy, and she lives in a small town just south of Rome, and was just checking in with her, and she said that they've closed all the schools, and she said that the police department will not let you go out without permission, even to go to the grocery store.
Yep.
They will arrest you.
Yep. And it's a substantial fine, and you can even go to jail for a couple of weeks. And all of Italy is in lockdown, and this is remarkable. I mean, it's the Italian government is taking this very, very seriously, while Donald Trump is playing golf. I mean, it's obscene.
They've got them on lockdown, and people here are just wash your hands, and I'm being a lot of people are still saying it's fake news, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Please don't shake my hand.
Yeah, you must have a lot of
crazy.
people there watching Fox News. That's so unfortunate.
Exactly.
Eileen,
Yeah.
I got to move along, but thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Peter in Lawton, Oklahoma. Hey, Peter, what's up?
Yes, sir. I just want to inform you, we have a military base right next door to my hometown here. Also, the media, there's one company that owns 2 different networks. 2 weeks ago, they put out on Twitter and Facebook that all the recruits at that military base would be tested for this virus.
Mm-hmm.
And I tweeted back to them, I said, where are you getting the test kits? And so I did, I've done research with these guys. This local company donates to the Republican Party and also the congressman and the Senate both. But my beef is they are putting out false or disinformation.
You don't think that they're actually testing the soldiers?
I don't think there are. No,
Yeah.
or they're going to get the kids.
Yeah,
This was 2 weeks ago.
I'll bet you're right, Peter. I mean, Trump lied through his teeth on TV the day before yesterday. He did it again today, and now we've got we get this call from this mom whose son is in Afghanistan, and his entire company, 400 people, they're all coughing and have fevers, and there are 5 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the next town over of Afghans.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy, and
now they've even got their local media who are owned or Trump supporters or Republicans that donate, because I researched it, under the
probably Sinclair owns the
Freedom of
stations.
Information Act.
Yeah,
This is scary.
Yeah, I get it. Peter, we need to find out what's going on with our military. We can talk about that tomorrow. Thanks a lot for the call. Kent in Eagle Point, Oregon, listening on Sirius XM. Hey, Kent, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? Big how do you do from the Oregon Bible Belt?
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to say that in Iceland, they are paying folks to be in quarantine.
Yes.
I got this from the Reykjavik newspaper on March 6th, if you want to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, your employer cannot dock you your sick leave because you are in quarantine.
Right. These are countries
So
where the philosophy is we're all in this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the whole libertarian and Republican philosophy is you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just another socialist country making us look stupid, I guess.
There you go.
And so anyway, I'll yield back my time.
Okay.
So thanks for everything you guys do. Appreciate
Sure.
it.
Thanks a lot for the call. Joan in Greenville, North Carolina. Hey, Joan, what's on your mind?
Hey there, I'm a field engineer. I was out to service some equipment at a hospital. Just have no protocols. They're out of Purell. The personnel in the IS department were, I'm concerned. One guy was openly coughing, and I mentioned to him, hey, you might want to curtail that, cover your mouth.
Right.
This
is in a hospital?
Well, how do you know that? In a hospital. I do a lot of hospitals and all that work. Yeah. It's just I was just really taken aback by that.
In Greenville, North Carolina, and you're an engineer.
I'm a field technician engineer. Yeah, I just was. I'm actually this was actually in Halifax, North Carolina. I'm out of Greenville, but
right.
Yeah, but I see this everywhere around here. But people are just not taking precautions.
Yeah, well, they're watching Fox News
They're just not taking it seriously.
they're being told it's a giant communist conspiracy by the commie liberals like Bernie Sanders, to take down Trump.
Well, I don't know. I'm talking to people. These are African American people in here, and I thought that they may be less inclined to
watch Fox News. Yeah, I get it. Well, it's very unfortunate. Joan, thank you for the call. We need to get a handle on this, and Donald Trump is not doing it. And anyway, we'll talk tomorrow about our election results tonight and everything else. No doubt the coronavirus and the markets and everything else will still be in the news. So we'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires you tag your it. Tell your friends about progressive media too, please. See you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit ThomHartmann.com.
So we are way behind on our fundraising. I mean, way behind on our fundraising. Last chance to call and credit our program, 877-378-8669. For the next 10 minutes, if you call, your contribution will be credited to this program. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Free Speech TV needs you. The Thom Hartmann Program needs you. Particularly in this very difficult and critical time, it's so important that we get, these, good progressive voices out there. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help Free Speech TV, help our show. Keep this all going. There's some great premiums with, gift levels from $20 up to $1,000. We've talked about them throughout the program. When you call, they can tell you. 877-378-8669. Please call now. Thank you so much.